We should be back on YouTube. See if YouTube's working. There we go. Okay. There we go. Hello, YouTube. Alright, I think we got everything sorted. Just making sure the PLL Twitch is still running. Yes, it is. Make sure YouTube is still good. It looks good. I'm gonna make sure I can actually see the chat. I can. Good. Okay. All right. I think we're set. I think we are all set up. There we go. All right. Hey, so we are in the finals for the PLL. This is going to be very exciting. Yeah, well, we finally get to see the grand conclusion of everything we were watching the other day. I'm going to go ahead and put all the stats on the screen in just a second, and the ads came back. I thought I got rid of those gosh darn ads. They've returned to haunt us yet again. All right. All right, so let's take a look at the current bracket. All right, so this is the top 32 of the PLL. This is everybody who made it all the way to day 2. We have, I believe, 31 different players, so Snaps will be getting an incredible bye, it seems. And let's go to the standings. Okay, so Big Boy Snap playing the Gyarados deck, top seed. It's actually crazy that a Gyarados deck ended up top seed, because those decks can brick hard, but yeah, I guess you play well, you pick your cards right, and get a little bit lucky, and you can just dominate a tournament with Gyarados. Gyarados is really strong when it comes online. Definitely a deck that has stuck around since Gyarados EX was first released. But then we're going to see some more normal stuff after that. We've got Giratina Darkrai versus Darkrai Greninja. We've got another Gyarados, more Giratina Darkrai. We see some of the new Magnezone Meowscarada coming online. More Giratina Darkrai, a little bit of Wugtrio Floatzel, more Giratina Darkrai, an old throwback to Arceus Carnivine. We got a few of those. Some more Giratina Darkrai's. I see Eni is playing Gyarados with a Palkia EX. A little bit of a twist on the Gyarados there. More Giratina Darkrai. Some Magnezone Meowscarada coming in there. Well, I'm actually surprised. I think that's 4 Gyarados made it all the way to the finals. How many Gyarados? 1, 2, 3. That one's a little funky though with the Palkia EX. 4. 4 Gyarados made it to the top 31. That blew my expectations out of the water. I didn't think we'd see this many Gyarados. Apparently the deck doesn't brick as much as I thought. The one interesting deck though, the one, actually two. There are 2 standout decks that I want to draw your attention to. ZKM Killer will be playing Blaine Rapidash Ninetales, a deck that has basically existed since Gen 1. You've probably never seen it or heard of it because no one ever plays this deck. I really want to see ZKM Killer do really well. A Blaine deck is considered one of the oldest decks in Pokemon Pocket, and it has never been meta. If they win with this, that would be incredible. Also, Tom Hagen 0308 running Palkia Giratina. That is huge. Adding Palkia to the Giratina deck in place of Darkrai is a big risk. Very strange. You're missing out on the poke. But they've managed to take out some other Giratina Darkrai's and might turn the meta on its head. I want to call out these 2 players in particular because they're going very off meta in a tournament meta that is very meta focused. It's so hard to break out of Giratina Darkrai, but these 2 players have done it. One of them without any Giratinas at all. Super impressive. So we're going to keep an eye on them as the tournament goes forward, and let's take a look at who might be our first game. Has the tournament already begun? Give me a second here. And it seems like we've got our first match, so I'm just going to jump right in. Give me a moment. Alright, we're gonna be actually spectating the Rapidash player I was just telling you about. This is hugely exciting. Well, we're gonna get to see their very first game. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and put that onto the stream for everybody to see. I got a very narrow phone. I gotta make that a little bigger. There we go. Alright, so this player is starting out with Ponyta, and you might recognize this as the Mythical Island Ponyta. We talked about this a lot during the earlier stages of this tournament, but the Mythical Island Ponyta can do 10 or 30 damage. Sorry, a 10 or 40 damage on a coin flip, adding 30 if it succeeds, if it gets heads. So that's really a big power spike if you get heads. You can deal 40 damage with 1 energy, that's Farfetch level damage, and it can make a big difference against these very bulky Giratinas. We're seeing both players have 3 Pokemon down on the field, and it's the difference of night and day. Ooh, they got heads! That's going to deal 40 damage. Really nice. Very early pressure on Giratina. Alright. I have to say, ZKM is doing amazing getting this far with such a unique and interesting deck, with common cards that I think anybody who was playing at the beginning of Pocket has the cards to build this deck. It's not like you need the latest EX cards or something like that. These are just common cards that pretty much anyone will trade you from Mythical Island and GA. And they're taking on the most meta decks in the game with it. It's so cool to see. Oh, and we see the on-curve evolution into Rapidash with Blaine. Now, this new Rapidash will not necessarily do enough damage to take out Giratina. But with heads, it definitely will. That's 130 damage. Giratina levels of damage. You had to get the coin flips, and they have been lucky. We got to acknowledge that. They got the first and the second coin flips, and that really mattered in sweeping out that first Giratina. They got the on-curve evolution, right? They evolved Rapidash as soon as possible. As soon as humanly possible, they got the evolution. And they got heads on every roll. As lucky as can be, and yet their opponent still has 2 fully powered EX Pokemon waiting to shut them down. That shows you the massive power disparity between Giratina Darkrai and someone running basic cards from the first few booster packs. This is wild to see. This is going to be a very exciting finals. I have some good feelings about this. Alright, I think we can turn on the game music. It seems... Alright, so... They're adding some energy. They're considering a red card here. Possibly sabotage their opponent's hand, take out some tech they might have. Red card is always a risk. You could end up giving your opponent something they were missing if you play it. They're kind of hovering over it, thinking about it. They're not going for it. They're just going to attack. Do they get heads? Again! Wow, the power of Rapidash here. I would not want to be that Giratina Darkrai player. I feel kind of bad for him at this point. I mean, that is some really bad luck. Alright, Pokeball comes out. Now, I'm not sure if that Giratina can safely attack. If it does, it will do 20 damage to itself, putting it in range of potentially being KO'd by something from the bench. Even if it doesn't evolve, that other Ponyta, as we saw, could potentially do 40 damage. Oh no, sure enough, we're seeing the Leaf get played. This will allow Giratina to retreat back to the safety of the bench completely for free. No energy spent, very resource efficient, and we're going to see a potion get dropped, and Giratina's just going to heal up and be totally fine. A second potion gets dropped. I bet the Rapidash player, ZKM, is strongly regretting not playing that red card now. 2 potions and a cape. That's going to be plus 60 health for Giratina. And it can no longer be KO'd by any attack. It is impossible to KO that Giratina in a single hit, as long as it remains on the bench. Because even if you yoink it forward with a Sabrina, right, you yoink it off of the bench, you still can only do a maximum of 100 damage because you played, you know, the supporter card for that turn. Alright, we see the player is trying to stall a little bit here. By putting a cape on Rapidash, they can allow Rapidash to potentially survive the 100 damage combo that would come off of Darkrai. 20 damage from the energy attached poke, and 80 damage from Darkrai's actual attack. totaling 100 damage. They're thinking about this, trying to figure out if they have any other way to play this. Arguably, they might even be able to play a Blaine here if they have another one, or Giovanni, but playing Blaine runs a risk because Darkrai will not go down, and then you don't have it later for the Giratina. Also, you might just not get heads. Yeah, there's no one-shotting this Darkrai. There is no combination of cards for the Blaine player that can one-shot this Darkrai. Ooh. Are we going to see Sabrina? No, Blaine. Blaine. It looks like it is Blaine. They are going for Blaine. They're going to try to do as much damage as possible. Yeah, it was bound to happen eventually. They were getting heads, 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 heads. They had to get tails eventually. That's the way the coin flip works. That was not enough damage to finish off the Darkrai, and that was, I believe, their second Blaine spent. What this means is that the Rapidash player will no longer be able to increase the attack power of their Pokemon. Meaning this Giratina is completely safe. It is impossible to one-shot this Giratina. Sort of. If the Giratina attacks, it might put itself in KO range. That could happen. But the Giratina did not have enough energy to attack, and was not able to do so. That's going to be amazing for the Blaine player. They put some energy on the Vulpix, just prepping some kind of evolution, some kind of tactic. We don't know what's in their hand. Mars was just played, so they don't have many cards in their hand. Alright, Cape's going down. If my math is correct, they only have one more card in their hand, so they probably don't have very powerful cards like a Sabrina to... Ooh. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. That Tails means Giratina is sitting at a comfy 70 HP. It's going to be very, very possible for Giratina to heal if, for example, they have like a Nurse Joy card over the amount of damage that could be done, and that could win the Giratina player the game. But I'm not seeing any healing cards get played. They might not have it. They've already used 2 potions. They've already used the cape. They might not have any other healing cards. We see Darkrai going for a little poke damage there. Is Giratina going to attack? No, Giratina switches into Darkrai. An interesting move, because this Darkrai is also at 70 health, and will go down to a Ninetales. But does the Blaine player have Ninetales? I think I just bit my tongue there. They just drew a red card. If they don't have Ninetales in their hand, there's not going to be very much they can do. Despite their incredible luck, incredible plays, and getting everything they needed, it is very difficult to take out Darkrai Giratina. They're trying to stall. They didn't get it. Vulpix's attack doesn't do any damage, it just prevents the opponent from damaging you. If that coin flip had been heads, they would have been able to stall for a turn and attempt to get the Ninetales they needed to win. But unfortunately, it was Tails, and Darkrai just took out the last Pokemon. What this means is that the Giratina Darkrai player won, despite the Blaine player having incredible luck and drawing everything they needed. This does not bode well, I fear, for the Blaine player. That was a perfect game. Almost a perfect game in terms of luck for the Blaine player. Yeah, they got a few tails at the end of the game, but in the beginning, they got everything they needed. They got the damage, they got the cards, they got the coin flips. The reason the Giratina Darkrai deck is so scary, and gosh darn near unbeatable, is because it has so much space to run all of these tech cards like Mars, which prevent you from having a hand, which just heal up your Pokemon infinitely. It's a little bit too good because you can just run almost anything you want in the deck, and you have so many more cards to play than your opponent. Whereas the Blaine deck, it's very card dependent. We're seeing... Hold on, let me just check the chat right here, and hopefully I fixed it so checking the chat does not break everything. Let's go, Pocket Stream. Heck yeah! 4 out of 20 Gyarados. I know, I was surprised by that. Hold on. Where did the YouTube stream go? Aha! Hey, Kobe! I am also excited for the top cut. Chris Angel, how you doing? Will you battle against your viewers? Right now we're just... Oh yes, we were able to check chat without crashing the stream. Right now we're casting the PLL tournament. This is the final cut of the tournament. So, you know, we're gonna see who's first place in this PLL. I think this is the last PLL tournament before the Invitational, which is like the super tournament. It's the most competitive Pokemon Pocket tournament. The Invitational, because you have to win multiple PLLs to get invited to this thing and be like the top of the ranking, so it's pretty big. So yeah, I might challenge viewers. If we have time between matches, I might play a game against a viewer, but right now we're just casting. Okay, so the Blaine player has already lost one game against the menace of Giratina Darkrai, which is just dominating everything. They really need to win this, or they are just out. You know, they are eliminated. They have to take this game. And it's not looking too good. They got a Blaine, they got a Cape, but what they really need are evolution items, and that Giratina already has 2 energy. Oh, right! We see Ninetales evolve. Ninetales is one of the most consistent cards in the Blaine deck. That's pretty bad. Yeah, no, what that's gonna be... That means that Ninetales can no longer KO the Giratina without Blaine. You have to play Blaine to KO the Giratina. That Tails could have made a big difference. Oof. Yeah, no, the Blaine player, and it didn't matter. Nurse Joy, you know. Now Blaine's not going to be enough. Now the coin flip didn't even matter. This is the power of Giratina Darkrai. You're only running 4 Pokemon, but it's still super consistent, and so you can afford to run so many healing cards, so many tech cards. You'll just always have the card you need. It's so strong. But luckily, we see the evolution for the Blaine player. This is their chance. And here's Blaine. This attack could do anywhere from 70 damage to 130 damage, depending on how this coin flips. And they got heads. They got heads. What that means is had they gotten heads previously, Giratina would go down here. But you can't always flip heads. I mean, that's not how the game works. It's a coin. It'll be tails some of the time. We see the Darkrai poke going down on the Rapidash. Giratina choosing not to attack, but instead it is going to retreat, probably into that Darkrai. Yeah. And this looks like Rapidash is going to go down. Now this will put the Blaine player in a very tough position because they do not have, I believe, enough energy on the Ninetales to attack this turn. And even if they did, it would just get walloped by Darkrai. I'm not sure if they have enough energy economy to make this happen. They'd have to get perfectly lucky. They'd have to get perfectly lucky. Alright, though they're going to use Poke Communicator. What that does is it'll shuffle in the Ninetales and give them another card. Unfortunately, the card they drew is Vulpix. I believe they had a 50% chance to draw the Rapidash they were looking for, but they did not get it. Because they didn't get it, this kind of has to be heads. Oh, that's bad. That means this will only do 10 damage instead of 40 damage, which means it is impossible for Ninetales to one-shot the Darkrai. And since Darkrai can one-shot every Pokemon from here on out forward, it's looking pretty rough. It's looking pretty rough for the Blaine player. You know, I'm so impressed they managed to get into the top cut with a Blaine deck. That is just cool. This player has my respect for all time for pulling that off, but unfortunately, the Darkrai Giratina deck is just so statistically powerful. Even if you make all the right plays, you still can't. There's nothing you can do. It's just... Some of these cards, with the heals this deck has, they might as well have 220 health. I'm not even kidding. Giratina's got 150 health. You cape it, you potion it twice. That's 210 health right there. Add a Nurse Joy, 240 health. You only used one supporter card. This deck is insane. Ooh. Okay, by using Cape, they were able to get Ninetales to the point where it could survive, in theory, a full combo from Darkrai, but it can't survive a regular attack from Giratina. I don't know why their opponent is thinking. I feel like they have a very obvious play here, but maybe there's something I'm not considering. Did they just time out? Wait, what? Oh, no, sorry. My bad. The Giratina in the back didn't have enough health to pull that off. I couldn't see the health bar there. Yeah. So, yeah, that was absolutely the right move. You know, just sacrifice this, play Leaf. Now the opposing Giratina comes in, and yeah, they're just going to surrender. That's GG. Alright, round of applause for ZKM. They tried. You know, they tried playing a Vulpix, Rapidash, Blaine deck in one of the most oppressive metas since Pokemon Pocket was released. They are a true hero. I have so much respect for them for attempting this. I can't play on my tablet and hear or watch the stream at the same time. Ah, that's a shame, Chris Angel. Well, you know, if you're playing against me, it's probably a good idea that you can't hear what I'm saying. Otherwise, you'd know it was in my deck. Alright, let's take a look at the standings and see what other games have finished so far. I'm going to put the standings on the screen. Let me see if there's a button I can press to do that. I believe there is. Here we go. Okay. So we're just taking a look at the standings now, trying to see where everything sits. Obviously, it seems as though our beloved Rapidash Blaine player has lost to QQOO, playing Giratina Darkrai. Well played to QQOO. You know, they played the deck well. They didn't make any mistakes. I'm very curious how Tom Hagen versus SYR is shaping out. Let's see if we can take a look at that map. Oh no! Tom Hagen, who is playing the Palkia Giratina deck, has also lost, it appears, to Giratina Darkrai. This means everyone playing a non-standard deck has been eliminated in the first round of the final cut. That's rough. That's rough. Alright, well then, who are we rooting for? Let's check out some of the other players. Greninja Darkrai is kind of interesting. It's a little bit off meta. Let's take a look at Toshi, who has also lost to the classic Giratina Darkrai. Gosh darn it! Has anything even remotely gimmicky made it through? Let's take a look at Wugtrio Floatzel. That's one of the new decks that's been appearing lately. Nope! They also lost to Chris Michelle, who's also playing Giratina Darkrai. Surely somebody, Frog X Lulu, who's just playing Gyarados. It's a meta deck. What's non-meta? Oh, okay, here we go. NE playing Gyarados Palkia. Right? Gyarados Palkia is a little bit weird. It's a Gyarados deck, but it has Palkia. The website's not loading, like it doesn't want to show me. I think this is literally the last off-meta deck. They won! Okay. So, NE has actually managed to beat a Giratina Darkrai. This is the only deck, even remotely off-meta, that has managed to dethrone Giratina Darkrai in the first round. It's got 2 Magikarp, 2 Gyarados, 2 Manaphy. Normally, this deck would then have 2 Palkia Origin, right? But that's not what they did. Instead, they're running a Palkia EX and what appears to be a baby Articuno. This is the Articuno that has the ability to paralyze an opponent. Interesting card, because I believe it requires 3 energy to use a 60 damage paralyzing attack. Most good paralyzing cards have lower energy costs. So using it here is very creative. I'm curious, actually, how this deck works out, because it seems really energy hungry with the Gyarados, the Palkia, the Articuno. I don't know, but they've managed to pull it off. They've been doing very well. They won their first game in this top cut. Let's take a look at the tech they have. A Mars and a red card, so lots of hand control. Maybe that's giving them an edge, you know, because we know a lot of these Giratinas run Mars, and it's worked very well for them in sabotaging your opponent's hand. But Mars is a card that's hard to fit on some of these decks, especially water decks. You want to run Misty, and they are running 2 Misty, an Irida, an Iona, 2 Professor's Research. Maybe they can get away with running the Mars because they're only doing 1 Irida. That's entirely possible, because remember, you can only play 1 supporter card a turn. So there's definitely that constant factor of, oh, is this going to get in the way of my other cards? Is this going to get in the way of my other plays? Let's see. Kobe saying, I played against Baby Articuno in ranked recently. The paralysis is scary. Okay, yeah, no, we've got some, some validation of the Articuno. It seems like there are some decks that can run it pretty well. All right, so NE is officially the gimmicker to watch. I mean, they're really just running a classic Gyarados deck with a little bit of a quirk, but I'll take a little bit of a quirk at this point. That Palkia is the quirkiest thing we have to root for. Let's see if it can overthrow the throne of Giratina Darkrai. Overthrown. I think I just made a new portmanteau. All right. What else is interesting? I wanted to see Froggy X with the Gyarados Manaphy, just see how Lulu's doing. They lost to Giratina Darkrai, of course they did. We talked about this, but Palkia will eventually brick. How about Manume? Okay, they managed to win, so there is still... Actually, they were 6-0-3. They have 3 ties. Oh my goodness, yeah. This is playing through 5D chess right here. They won 5 games in a row, including against Big Boy Snap, who's actually ranked, I think, #1, and then proceeded to agree to tie their next 3 games so they could get into the top 32. That was probably the right call. As Gyarados deck, you're very vulnerable to bricking. So the fewer games you have to play, the better. Very smart. Okay, so they seem to be one of the non-Giratina Darkrai's that we're gonna get to witness. Well, oh my goodness, look at this, the 2 Magnezone Masqueradas, they're playing against each other. That's just so unfair. That's a Giratina Darkrai counter deck, but they ranked in such a way, their seeding was in such a way that they have to play against each other. Giratina Darkrai, curse you! Alright, let's see what else we've got here. I wonder how the Masquerada Palkia stuff was able to do against Giratina Darkrai. Yeah! Okay, so Rocky Kinkan, we watched them a little bit. You might remember from yesterday's stream. We watched them a little bit. And it seems like their deck can stand up to Giratina Darkrai. You know, the Arceus with the Masquerada. Actually, that's pretty gimmicky. Normally you just run Arceus or you just run Meow, but Meow plus Arceus is cool. Alright, yeah, no, let's go, Rocky Kinkan. I think they're officially our top gimmicker right now. The #1 most gimmicky deck. It seems like a lot of the matches have completed. We're probably waiting on a few. I'm guessing this one looks like it might take a bit. Let's just see. Nope, Giratina Darkrai has been defeated by Giratina Darkrai. What about this one? Is Giratina Darkrai beaten Giratina Darkrai yet? Let's find out. Nope, Giratina Darkrai still fighting Giratina Darkrai. What a surprise. Alright, so while we're waiting for some of those to complete, I'd totally be down. I think someone asked if they wanted to fight me. You could totally fight me if you want. I wouldn't mind. I would accept a challenge from a viewer. And just while we're waiting for the next round to complete. But I will have to wrap it up if the round starts. So let me just plug in my phone, and hopefully we will not crash the stream this time as we did last time I tried to plug in my phone and everything went to poop. I did definitely not going to crash the stream this time. If it does, just refresh it real quick and we should be good to go. Alright. Yeah, there we go. We didn't crash the stream, and I have a pack to open, so that's nifty. I have 0 Giratinas, by the way, which might explain some of my saltiness around Giratina Darkrai. I actually don't have any Giratinas. I keep hoping, but yep, nope. We got another Wigglytuff. Why has Wigglytuff become like the terror meme of all time? Like, everyone has been horrified of drawing this card. It seems like you always get it when you want something else. Like, I want a Giratina. You get a Wigglytuff. I want a Wugtrio. You get a Wigglytuff. You get a Wigglytuff. And you get a Wigglytuff. I don't know. It just kind of seems like everyone's been drawing Wigglytuff, even though it's supposed to be a 3-diamond, pretty rare card. Any Giratinas we got going on? Weevil EX, I already have that though. Yeah, I'm not gonna waste hourglasses on something I've got. I just want a Giratina. Nope, not happening. All right, let me just check in real quick. All right, so it looks like we will be watching either the Gyarados deck potentially or the Arceus Meow deck. I'm just trying to keep it, keep it focused on the because we're probably going to see a Giratina Darkrai deck in the finals. Let's be real. We're all and you've all seen a million Giratina Darkrai decks. So I'm kind of requesting that we get to see some of the other matches and focus on the matches that are a little more dynamic, with like a little weird decks. Just if somebody could beat Giratina Darkrai, because I think that's that's an exciting way to go about it. All right, we've got a little bit of time. We've got a little bit of time before the next round starts, so I will fight literally anybody. If anyone viewing wants to fight me, just type into the code SNEAKY, and we will battle. I'm not using that. Goodness. What's a fun deck? Just like, I want to play something fun. I don't even remember what this is. An old school Mewtwo? Yeah, let's go with that. Alright, just type in the code SNEAKY. And, well, we shall fight. Alright. Chris Angel, if you still want to fight me, bring it on. We have a little bit of time before the next round starts. Oh, that was fast. Roos94. Isn't that one of the players competing? Hold on, wait a minute. That name sounds familiar. Yeah, Roos94 is one of the players competing. They just won their round. Hold on. I guess you can watch the stream as long as it's not your game? Question mark? Okay, so I'm literally fighting one of the players who is in the tournament and will be moving on to the next round. Apparently, they've just challenged me to a battle. Okay. Yeah. We'll go for a little. All right. I'm down with that. And my turn there. Yeah, I'm just playing old school Mewtwo. I figured that would be kind of fun. Just kind of like a fun deck to play on stream. Old school Mewtwo. Mewtwo hasn't been meta for a while. Some people tried to play it with Giratina. None of them made it to the top 32. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not a bad deck. Mewtwo Giratina is fun, but... Oh, okay, they're playing like an old school kind of Magna Gren Darkrai deck. That's pretty nifty, actually. I like this. Give me a Ralts. Yes, perfect. I'm definitely not going to get Sabrina'd. Absolutely not. Do I have to worry too much about poke damage? Nah, I'm good. I'd like a Professor Oak. I feel like they have too many cards. Ooh. Oh, and another Oak. Oh. I don't know. Double Oak is a little spooky. I don't even have one Oak. And Greninja's gonna do some whopping damage. 30 damage. Okay. Aha, I've got my Oak. Nothing can stop me now. With Professor's research, I think we've got this. And another Oak. The game heard my pleas. I think that's the only explanation I can offer. We'll try to, survive a little bit more damage here. Of course, it's entirely possible I just get murdered by a Magnezone. That could very easily happen. But it would be an on-curve Magnezone. I mean, there's nothing that beats that. If your opponent gets an on-curve stage 3... There's no beating that. Good game. GG. Yeah. There's no beating when your opponent gets two uncurved stage 2 Pokemon at once. Do I fight this out? Um, I don't know. We could try. We could try to fight this. Uh, let's play it. Let's we'll play it out. See what we get. Actually, I probably should have shuffled the Mew, but that's fine. Yeah. Then I could have put this there. I'm gonna play it through. I'm gonna play it through. Let's because this deck doesn't run electric energy. Magnezone can only murder one more of my Pokemon. So we're fine, right? We're fine. Probably. Nah, I just lose here. Good game. Yeah, no, there was no beating that. There was just no beating that. Oh my goodness. All right, the next round is up. GG. Russ 94, one of the players in the top 31. Well played, Russ. Well played. Mewtwo Giratina is good against Gyarados. Interesting. Which round are we in now? Oh, Professor Frostworth, you find Wigglytuff creepy? Yeah, a lot of people find it creepy. All right, thanks for the game, Russ. Good luck in your next match. All right. Waiting to see who we're gonna spectate next. GG's. GG. Yeah, I'll try to figure out a way to combine the chats at some point in the future. I think you need like a software to do it. I could probably like grab the stream of the chat and then try to handle it locally through something, but that's going to take a lot more finagling. So for now, if you see me talking to somebody and you do not see them in chat, that's because they're in the other chat. All right, top 16 is up. I am still waiting on somebody to stream. Hopefully we get somebody soon. Oh, in case anybody's wondering, I am still on the verge of Ultra Ball 3. Alright, we got a player. They're getting ready. We'll be able to stream them in just a moment. Very nice. Yeah, I'm still on the cusp of Ultra Ball 3. I'm missing cards to build the deck I want. But we might have just enough time for a quick I should not be playing this game. Just a quick evil deck. Evil deck. This is the one deck that I think is as evil as Giratina Darkrai. Alright. And I'm fighting Giratina Darkrai. Or Weevil. It could be a Weevil rush. Let's see what we're going up against here. And one of the cool things about being a water deck is everyone assumes you're Gyarados. But there's always a chance. Oh, they got the 2-art Giratina. Wow. That's a nice one. It's like standing there all shiny, like, I am Giratina. Haha. I will accept pets. Yeah, just immediate Misty. I mean, I don't care what else I have. No! I wanted that. I probably needed that. I don't know if we win now. Yeah, in case you're wondering why I'm doing this, we're just waiting for the game. Oh, the game is up. All right. Yes. Now we get to watch. We get to watch NE. Oh, heck yeah. Let's watch a wonderful gimmick player. And enough of this nonsense. Oh, goodness, no. We must wait. Their phone is not in the right spot. Hold on. And I'm going to mute their desktop audio because it's a little funky. Bear with me for just a moment. Ooh, their phone is either an interesting shape or Discord's not behaving. Yeah, their phone is very thin. I'm trying to. It's it's not sharing the whole thing. Oh, this is interesting. They're not screen sharing everything. They're only screen sharing part of it. Okay, well, yeah, nope, this is what we got. All right. So, we seem to be watching what appears to be a Gyarados deck versus. Wait a minute, there are two people streaming. I'm not sure which one I was meant to view, but I'm going to view this one on account of no one told me otherwise. We're watching a Gyarados player versus Arceus, and I believe that we're probably watching um, the Arceus Meow deck. I think we're watching the Arceus Meow deck. Is this not the Arceus Meow deck? I think it's the Arceus Meow deck. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong about that. I believe we were watching the Arceus Meow deck. Yeah, well, alright. Magikarp is going to retreat, and because we cannot see their bench. You know what? I'm just going to switch gears real quick, actually. Hold on a second. Okay, we're going to spectate a different player. I think I was spectating the wrong player, and that's what was going on, because two people started streaming at the same time. I think we found the right one. Yeah, alright. We're in the right place now. We're in the right place now. There we go. Okay. Lots of different phone sizes. There we go. So round 2. This is top 16. I can narrate this a little bit better now. And we are watching what appears to be a crazy Arceus Link deck that may or may not have Meowscarada in it versus the Palkia EX Gyarados player. Very exciting game. Ooh, they have Giovanni in this. I'm really excited to see how these decks shape out. This is a very weird Arceus deck running Rotom. Rotom is just... I don't know, it's not that common. You don't see a lot of Rotoms. I'm just going to surrender that ranked game I was playing. I don't need ELO. I don't need to be in Masters. Who cares? We're watching the PLL top 16. Gyarados is building up a lot of energy, though, so this is going to be really, really powerful for the Gyarados player. I kind of like the introduction of Palkia EX to this deck, but it seems like it does make it very energy-starved. But right now, we're seeing how they get around that. What they're doing is they're using Palkia as a 1 energy tanky attacker to stall, deal chip damage, and build up until you get to the Gyarados. Very clever, very interesting strategy. I would not have thought of using Palkia just for its basic attack. Ooh, we see a spicy Sabrina get played. Bit of a decision. Either you let your Gyarados take a big hit, or you sacrifice the fish. But sacrificing the fish means that if you lose an EX Pokemon, you lose the game. So, you can't lose an EX Pokemon. That can't happen. They got a bit of a decision to make here. Do they bring in the Gyarados and hope for Misty? Or do they bring in the Palkia and retreat in a turn or something? They're going for the Gyarados. It seems like they don't have Leaf. They're not going to risk the retreat. The question is, do they have Misty? We see a Pokeball go down. That would have been useful last turn, but it's not as helpful right now. Hey, Connard, how are you doing? DJJ, they tried to hide their hand. Yeah, I think they were trying to hide their hand, but yeah, I couldn't see their bench, so it wasn't really possible to see what was going on there. That's why we switched to this one. Okay, with an Iona played, maybe they're just hoping to get some kind of card that can improve their situation, but... Ooh, that was a really nice draw for the Arceus player. We'll see if that goes down. Alright, putting Arceus on the bench, that's very nice. And the Cape going down on the benched Arceus. It's an interesting decision. I thought maybe they'd like follow up with a Carnivine or something after this attack, but Maybe they're thinking there might be an Irida heal. Because if Arceus attacks and deals 130 damage, or if there's a red 150, if there's a Giovanni 140, somewhere in that range, Gyarados could go down to Carnivine, but Irida would heal it such to the point that it would not go down to Carnivine. So maybe they want to prep the Arceus instead if they need to stall a little bit. They're definitely thinking about their turn. You know, this is the top 16. A lot of thought goes into this. Okay, they do play red. Looks like they're just going to go for massive damage here. But not with Arceus. I'm surprised. That's all I can say. I'm super surprised. They attacked with Carnivine, dumping the energy from Arceus. That's insanely risky. That's insanely risky. Because remember, Gyarados will delete an energy from the board every time it attacks. And Arceus doesn't have enough energy to really hold up. I mean, if we missed a basic going down earlier or something, that would make sense, but I don't think we did. Hey, hold on, let me see if we can see the prize points. They have a prize point, and their opponent... Hold on, their opponent has no prize points, so there's not really I don't know why they retreated Arceus. Arceus could have safely gone down. Alright, we see Rotom in play. Rotom has the ability to attack the bench, but it looks like they're just going to sacrifice it. But this is giving Gyarados lots of time to potentially heal. I'm not sure what they were thinking with that retreat earlier. I feel like Arceus Strike plus Carnivine Finisher would have won them the game. Maybe they were afraid of something in particular. If anybody knows what the strategy was there, let me know in one of the chats. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what their move was. I'm not sure what they were thinking there. Who needs to know a player's back? He could attack with Arceus and after attack it with his Carnivine. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Russ. Wait, Russ, are you done with your next game already? Gosh darn it, you're sweeping. Wow, Russ won already. Russ is kicking butt in this tournament. Let's go. Yeah, here's the Gyarados attack, and this is going to delete an energy, and sure enough, it deletes an energy from the Arceus. This was completely avoidable. Now Arceus does not have enough energy to attack the Gyarados. But it could have done so if it had just attacked originally. Yeah, I think, you know, this happens sometimes. You get in your head, you try to predict against a crazy card combo that your opponent doesn't even have, and you miss an obvious win. It's unfortunate. Well, you know, this is a top player, you know, in the top 16. Maybe they were just kind of, I don't know, maybe they were thinking of something I couldn't see. That's entirely possible. Unfortunate taking the L there. Looks like they're going in for another game. I'm just going to take a quick bite of soup here. I made a little good soup before I started my stream. Gotta eat. Gotta eat during a tournament. All right, they're queuing up for the next round. It's actually interesting to watch Arceus versus Gyarados. This is a matchup that I would not have suspected in a Sea of Giratinas. All right, here we go. Russ, you don't like to play against Gyaradoses with Misty? Yeah, I get you. I mean, there's always the chance, right? There's always the chance that the Misty just... Whoopsie. The Misty just kind of goes crazy and you lose and you can't do anything. I mean, any game against a Misty player, that can happen, right? There's always the turn one, I get too many energy problem. It's one of the things about Misty. The downside is Misty bricks. We all know Misty will turn on you and betray you, whether it's in your hand or in somebody else's. That's just how Misty be. It looks like they've got a really good setup here. They've got the Carnivine, they've got the Arceus, they've got the Rotom. They have their full Link Power trio. The Triforce of this particular deck. And they're staring at a Manaphy, which will get one shot by Carnivine. Another Manaphy on the bench. Do they have a fish? They got Palkia, but no fish. So we're probably going to see Manaphy just power those two up and then get Carnivined. Ooh, no. Nope, we're going to see Misty first. Yeah, this was the thing Russ was talking about. But this was the thing I was talking about. Misty bricks. Misty bricks. Alright, hold on a second. This morning I was at 10 points to enter in the top 100 in ranked. Whoa, Russ! Hold on. You were near the top 100 in Master Ball? That's crazy. I was about to win. A Misty came up and got 3 heads. Oh, that's brutal. But congrats on being one of the top players in Master Ball. Let's go. Alright, so Carnivine will take out the Manaphy here. Perfect damage. I mean, that's why you play Carnivine. It's really the Manaphy killer. It exists to kill Manaphy. Like, when Manaphy stops being a thing, people will stop running Carnivine, I think. It's still a good card, but its job is to kill Manaphy. And considering that, I feel really bad for the Palkia player, actually, because we talked about them a little bit before. You know, running Palkia EX with Gyarados is a little bit spicy. And they'd probably be, you know, happy against a Giratina Darkrai, ironically, but they have to play this. Their hard counter in the top 16. That's just brutal. Nah, don't worry about it, Russ. It's impressive just getting close. Hey, you would have been top 100 if not for that Misty flip. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's impressive. That's crazy impressive. Alright, so we've got Carnivine sweeping the Manaphys. They've got to decide who they're bringing in now, right? Who's the Carnivine's next victim? It's Palkia. With all the Manaphys down, I mean, they can't afford to lose another Pokemon. But Palkia is fully charged and powered. The question is, will Palkia use its ultimate attack, or will it save it for Arceus? And that's Spatial Rend, or Dimensional, whatever it's called in this game. I always think of it as Spatial Rend. Obliterates the Carnivine. Way overkill. But what this means is that there's sort of a damage race, like an energy race that has to go on now between the Arceus and the Palkia. Whichever one can KO the other first wins, but Arceus has a little bit of an advantage. They can afford to sacrifice a Rotom. They've one energy away from being able to attack. I don't know. It's looking rough for Palkia. They've got to fix this situation somehow. Alright, do they have Misty? Nope. Just a 30 damage poke. That's not quite gonna be enough. Rotom using its free retreat, because of the Arceus Link ability, it does not have to pay an energy cost in order to retreat. And red. That's going to be 150 damage and GG. It looks like the players are 1-1. So whoever wins the next game will get to move on. Well played to both players. You know, we're seeing the power of this Arceus deck. It all comes down to this. It all comes down to this. We're going to see who's moving on into top 8. Alright, what are folks saying in the chat? Connor, do you want to reach top 1,000? That's an admirable goal. I just want to get to Master Ball. I'll be satisfied if I get to Master Ball. I'm actually missing one of those Rotoms, one of those Carnivine, both Giratina. I'm missing a red. I gotta get some cards. I've just not been lucky with Shining Revelry. Hey, Kevin 2.0, how are you doing? We're watching the PLL. This is the official stream for the PLL, I guess. The final cut. We're on top 16 right now. The players are 1-1, and it's an Arceus Link deck versus a Gyarados deck that is also running one Palkia EX. Oh, that's I don't want to be the Gyarados player right now. Immediate Oak, immediate Carnivine, Rotom, Arceus, Pokeb. Oh, I feel so bad for the Palkia player. Just the fact that they had to play this matchup was brutal. But on top of that, this is not a good. Okay, they have an Oak too. They have an Oak too. Maybe they can draw something to get out of this mess. There's a Pokeball. That'll do it. Put something on the bench. You got a chance. Hopefully it's a magical orange fish. Nope, it is a shiny blue. Oh, there's the magical orange fish. Okay. All right, so and we have a cape. All right, all right. So they fixed their very scary opening. They fixed it. Now Manaphy will not go down to Carnivine in one hit, thanks to cape. And that'll give plenty of time to power up the Articuno, to power up the Magikarp. No, it's not going to stop Carnivine from trying. Another Professor Oak goes off. Wow, and they have Iona, they have Cyrus. They got good tech. Yeah, no, this is looking pretty good. This is looking pretty good for the Carnivine player, but the power of a water deck is you can always do that. Oh, Tails, Misty Bricks. Misty Bricks. Unfortunately, this means that the magical little fish will not be suddenly skyrocketing to infinite energy right now, but that's fine. With Manaphy, it will have enough next turn. Red is going to be a nice addition. You see, they're thinking about plays. There are lots of plays you could make. Should they target the back line? Or should they just take out Manaphy? One risk in taking out the Manaphy is that then Articuno comes forward and starts para-stalling you. And you have to get rid of the Articuno and then potentially a Gyarados in the back. Alright, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. If Gyarados is there, it's over. I think so. I think you might be right, Russ. If Gyarados comes online, this could be very brutal for the Arceus player. With Iono played, the odds of Gyarados have dramatically increased, and it has eliminated the certain Sabrina card from the Arceus player's hand, which will make it more difficult to swap in the fish. Looks like they didn't get Gyarados, but at the very least they stopped the assassination of the fish, which would probably have been GG. And they get the Parahacks. Nice. So with Carnivine paralyzed, it will not be allowed to retreat or attack this turn. This means there is no way to attack the Articuno. There's no way to attack the fish. I think we're seeing the real cleverness of the Articuno here. Because normally, that would have been a Palkia. It would have KO'd the Carnivine, but then the Arceus player would Sabrina in the Magikarp and kill it. Now that can't happen because you're paralyzed, and because you got Iono'd, but if that didn't work, because you're paralyzed. So I think this is why Articuno works, because it stops you from pulling off those crazy benched attacks and lets you stall a little bit until you get Gyarados. Yeah, that makes sense. I think we're seeing why Articuno is in this deck. All right. What are they gonna do now? I mean, you know, Carnivine can just attack here, but it's not gonna be a fantastic. What am I saying? It's not Carnivine's turn. Carnivine is done. No Gyarados, I could cry for less than that. Yeah, no. It's unfortunate. I mean, you really need to draw that Gyarados soon. But they have time. Sort of. I'm surprised they didn't put in a Rotom here to stall. I would have expected like a stall Rotom to come out, potentially. But maybe they just want to sweep before the Gyarados comes online. So I guess that makes sense. Yeah, why would you stall? You don't want to risk Gyarados, right? It depends if they're playing for Sabrina or not. Because with Manaphy on the field, you KO Articuno, then you get Manaphy. So yeah, you still need a KO Articuno. So yeah, I think it makes sense. It makes sense. Alright, Articuno goes down. It's all up to the fish. It's all up to the magical fish. You have to draw Gyarados. And if you cannot draw Gyarados, it's over. Even if you can draw Gyarados, it might be over. Putting Manaphy on the bench might have potentially been a mistake. Alright, we see Gyarados come online. That's pretty good. You know, I think the reason for the Manaphy was to thwart Sabrina a previous turn, so you couldn't snipe the... And they have red. That's GG. That is GG. This is game. The Palkia player has managed to defeat the Arceus deck. Their hard counter in the top 16. That's impressive. Well played. Well played. Oh my goodness. That was a good game. Very close. Very edge of the seat game. All right, let's take a look at the statistics and see how everybody's doing. All right, so we're going to see if Toshi is moving on. No, unfortunately, Toshi has been defeated. That's another non-Darkrai Giratina deck that has been wiped out. This Gary deck is still in it. Yeah, no, impressive. Manume will continue to move on. They have defeated Gary Giratina. Very nice. Wow, and one of the Masquerada decks, which was pretty much built to try to defeat Giratina, seems like it succeeded. That's pretty good. Wait a minute. No, hold on. This was top 16. This isn't up to date. This isn't up to date. What am I looking at? Okay, hold on. This time for real. This time for real. So, Big Boy Snap. Wow, the Gary decks are beating the Giratina decks. I'm kind of surprised. I didn't expect that. But yeah, Big Boy Snap has defeated their opponent and will move on. Manume has defeated their opponent and will move on. The Gary decks are dominating. That threw me for a loop. Russ will automatically move on. I think their opponent dropped. Hold on. M-Kun versus Vayu Star is still happening. But that's Darkrai Giratina versus Darkrai Giratina there. I think we just watched this game, potentially. NE versus Gleon. Yeah, this is the one we just watched. NE running the Palkia managed to move on. Then we've got a Masquerada versus the Giratina deck. The Masquerada actually lost, despite being theoretically a Giratina counter. They were defeated by the Giratina deck. And then one more Masquerada deck. That was the Rocky King Khan. And it looks like Rocky King Khan won. So some of the Giratinas have started to drop. It looks like about half the Giratinas have dropped. I think we're at something like 50% Giratinas for round 8. And every Gyarados deck has won. Which means... Wait. This is like over a third. Yeah, this is like 37.5% Gyarados decks will be top 8. I don't know what to make of that. My prediction was that the Gyarados decks would brick, but they're not bricking. I wonder if because Giratina takes a while to build up, it's giving them enough time to get Gyarados? I don't know. I don't know, but the Gyarados decks are winning. They are winning. I didn't think they'd do this good, but they're doing pretty good. And two of them are actually very standard. If we take a look at Big Boy Snap's deck, I mean... Hold on, you can't see what I see. Let me fix that. It's pretty standard. It has one less Origin Palkia. Not doing anything else too weird. One Irida. I agree with one Irida. I think running two doesn't work most of the time. Very specific decks, but most of the time you just want one. They don't even have Mars. Like, I don't know. This is a typical deck. It's just as one less Origin Palkia. And that is an impressive decision. Like, running one less Pokemon is interesting. It's a modification on a meta deck, so respect for that. And then we have Manume is running. Let's see what they got. Yeah, they're also running the one Origin Palkia. Is that just meta now? Is everyone just running the one Origin Palkia? Don't doubt Snap, he's the GOAT. Alright, yeah, no, a lot of Snap fans. Gyarados is very, very good against Giratina, trust me. Alright, yeah, Russ is saying that Gyarados is actually the deck. I trust you guys. I trust you guys. Very good players. Okay, so apparently Gyarados is the way to beat these Giratinas. That's good to know. That's good to know. Us Gyarados... Okay, we got Kobe, who's a Gyarados main. Us Gyarados players love how long it takes Giratina to get going. Okay, so apparently the fact that Giratina takes a few turns is really beneficial for Gyarados. That's good to know. We're learning a lot today. Or at least I am. Let's quickly take a look and see when the next round is starting. Top 8 is now live. Make sure at least one of you is streaming the game. Alright, so we should be getting a stream up pretty soon for top 8. And once again, the final top 8 roster looks like... Let me just put it on the screen so we can see it. Looks like this. This is the final top 8 roster. We'll move it a little there. Got Big Boy Snap versus Manu. That means one of the Gyaradoses will be going down to the mirror match. M-kun is fighting Russ, right? I think. Yeah, the Limitless just didn't update because someone dropped and it doesn't know what to do. Then we got the Gyarados Palkia we were following before, fighting a Giratina Darkrai. And the two Masquerada decks are meeting in the middle. Impressively enough, 1, 2, 3... There are 3 Giratina Darkrai decks, 3 Gyarados decks, and 2 Meowscarada decks, making up our top 8. Not as Giratina Darkrai focused as I thought it would be. Alright, we got a little bit more of a mix. Very nice. Ooh, Snap is streaming. Everyone was saying Snap is the GOAT, and Snap has been like top seed for this whole tournament. Let's check out one of Snap's games. We're gonna watch Snap. I'll put it live just as soon as it's possible. All right. One Origin Palkia seems to be the meta. That's how my deck is too. Okay. It seems like running one Origin Palkia is the new way of the Gyarados. It used to be 2, but I guess it's evolved to just 1. I am just waiting on Snaps to start streaming. There we go! Alright. Now I click this button, I click this button, I click this button, I click this button, and this button. There we go. We have a stream. Okay. Let's hide their hand. Though, again, if you're playing, obviously you shouldn't be on the stream if, you know, your opponent is just reminding everybody. You can't watch the stream if I'm streaming your game. That would be cheating. I don't believe anyone here would do that, but just a reminder. So this is a matchup between two Gyarados decks, and the player we're spectating is Snap, the player who is top seed of this tournament. I think they're undefeated. They're just running Gary, and they've had a really good run this tournament. There's that Origin Palkia. Ooh, do they not have another basic? It always hurts when you're running Manaphy, but you just can't, you know, get the 2 energy on 2 bench Pokemon. Feels bad. Meanwhile, their opponent drew better cards. Oh. Are they going to get better coin flips? Oh. Their opponent drew better cards and got better coin flips. I'm actually surprised they played Misty on the Origin Palkia and not the fish. I would have played Misty on the fish, but maybe they don't have Gyarados in their hand. Well, that looked interesting. Alright, well, let's see if Snaps can come back from this. That's the problem with mirror matches. A lot of mirror matches will be decided by draws. But occasionally you get one that's decided by the difference between the decks. And those are the fun ones, right? Those are the I built my deck better mirror matches. Okay. So it seems like they're keeping that Misty in reserve. Probably waiting until they draw a fish, right? Because Palkia Origin doesn't need more energy. It's ready to come online. I think most players that get a Misty, they just like play it immediately, but this is probably the more mature call. That cape is going to be really big. Origin Palkia has 120 health normally, meaning if it gets heads, like that just happened, it could one-shot itself. But cape means that can't happen. It will live with 20 health no matter what. Manume is doing pretty good. I mean, they kind of just got a little bit of a better start there. Hoping for a fish. They got a fish. All right. We're going to see the fish come down. And now the Misty gets played. If they get enough energy, they could come... Ooh, that's a heads. Just one, though. Still, that'll be 2 energy. Misty plus regular. On to the Magikarp. Unless I've missed something. I don't see the energy. They're thinking about something. There's the energy. Yeah, they were considering some kind of play. It's tough to know what they're thinking about. Because if this Palkia KOs that Palkia, which it can't do, it'll only put it down to 20 at best. And this Palkia has a 50% chance to KO the other Palkia back. Yeah, that hurts. Even if it wouldn't kill, you wanted that heads there. But still, it'll knock the Palkia into a decent range. It would need a lot of healing to get beyond Gyarados range, so it'll probably still go down. We'll see what happens. Energy on the fish. Any evolutions? Maybe? Maybe? That's rather unfortunate. Yeah, with that Sabrina being played, I think this game might be over. Without a fish, with energy, I don't know if Snaps can come back. They're one basic Pokemon away from losing, and they have no Gyarados. But there is still hope. There is still hope. Their opponent has not drawn or evolved Gyarados yet, that we know of. So, it is entirely possible that they just sweep with Palkia Origin. That could happen. They're thinking. I'm actually not sure what the considerations are here. I mean, can you do anything other than attack? Cape goes down. All right. Yeah, no, this is how you can tell Snap is a pro player. They're not being hasty. They're not being rash. Even when things look bad and they keep getting tails, they're considering every possible play, every possible option. Got a Pokeball coming out. It's looking a little bit rough for our number one spot, Snaps, over here. And there's the Gyarados. That will make it impossible for the Palkia Origin to sweep. At this point, conceding would be reasonable. But they're still alive. Ah, there's the concede. Yeah. Yeah, totally fair. Fair concede. Unfortunately, it's just one of those mirror matches. It goes like that sometimes. If you're playing the same deck as somebody else, you run the risk of them drawing better cards. All right. We're on to game 2. Remember, it's best 2 or 3. Snaps is still in this, provided they can take this game. Maybe the luck will be different. And just give me 1 second. I can grab a quick bite of this soup that's getting cold next to me. Whoops. Wrong thing. Whoops. Wrong thing. It's one of these buttons. Hmm. I mean, a Misty right here would just end the game. No, they didn't get it. They didn't get it. Oh, that would have been so hype. They got one, though. That's not bad. But yeah, that would have been instantly game. I have to say, it is horrible as the person fighting against it, but as the player who gets to play the Misty on turn 1, it feels so good. It's like you cleverly outsmarted the game. I get to attack on the first turn. It's so fun. It's very fun. Hmm. 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 All right, so Magikarp just had a derp out of there. Perfectly reasonable. We're not going to see another Misty. Oak goes down. And this means that Manaphy's will start powering up Magikarps and the game is rolling as it was intended. Oh, we got a little Fishy. And a little Manaphy. Do they have Leaf? I don't know if they're running Leaf. I don't think they're running Leaf. Yeah, ideally you kind of want to retreat into Manaphy and start powering up your own Magikarp to deal with their Magikarp, but that's kind of hard to do in this situation. Unless you have Leaf. Do they have Leaf? I don't know if they're running Leaf. We can check the deck lists. In theory, I have access to that. I just don't want to minimize the stream by accident. Hmm. No Leafs, I assume? Yeah, you might be right, DJJ. I don't think they're running Leaf. Wow, double Oak. Double Oak for Snap's opponent. Starting to see some games start to finish. Alright, Manaphy goes down. Lots of energy. I'm actually surprised that Snaps didn't put the energy on the Palkia. They're going for the fish instead. I would have tried to, knock out the Manaphy with the Palkia. Tried to maybe do some kind of Sabrina thing, but they seem to be prioritizing their own Gyarados as the win con here. It's common not to run any Leafs with this deck. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. You don't usually need them, right? Because everyone has so much energy. Hmm. I see why everyone was hyping up snaps. The decisions they're making are very, very cautious decisions. Like if it were me, I was one game away from being eliminated out of top 8, I would just try to sweep with the Palkia Origin. I would just attack. But they're very calmly saying, no, 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 no. I'm not going to attack. No. Attacking is not what we want to do. What we want to do is calmly build up to Gyarados. That's how we win. Still, with their opponent getting double oaks, Manaphy's, it's a tough sell. It's a tough sell. I don't know if they're going to get to Gyarados. I don't think they're going to get to Gyarados first. Like right now, this turn, Palkia Origin could have one-shot the Manaphy had they just been aggressive. And Magikarp would still have one energy. Actually, it could have done it last turn, then attacked something else this turn. Their Palkia Origin would come in on it and attack it, though. But now it's going to happen anyway. Yeah, here it is. I don't know. Oh. Might not have even mattered. Might not have even mattered. This is... Ooh, that looks pretty brutal. And they got heads, too. Snaps just can't catch a break. Manume is doing pretty well. I mean, at this point, you stall or you go fish. They're stalling. Yeah, it's a little late for that Misty. Not quite gonna help the situation. Playing a second fish to thwart Sabrina, that makes sense. Oh, and playing Misty on the second fish. Didn't get it, though. If it had worked, they could try for like a Gyarados retreat, Gyarados tech thing. I mean, they're playing for their win con. They are trying to win the game, no matter what the situation is. Not conceding, not tilting, just very calmly building towards the win con. Looking at their opponent's board. Could you do that under those circumstances? I don't know if I could. Alright, Manaphy goes down. And here's the tricky bit about Sabrina thwarting last turn. This turn, you have a fish on your back line. Oh, but there's Gyarados. There's a Gyarados. A double Gyarados. Did they have that the whole time? 5D chess. 5D chess. I did not think you could come back from that, but Snap says double Gyarados. No, but they pinged their own energy. Oh, that's... They're hovering over the concede button after that. Pinging your own energy is so bad in that position. They needed that energy. Yeah, they're waiting to see if red gets played, because if red gets played, it's GG. Yep, they're conceding. Well, mad respect for Snaps. I mean, they hung in there until it was absolutely impossible to win. You know, they tried. They had a very good idea with the double Gyarados as like a comeback tech. I'm still not sure if it might have been better to just be aggressive with the Palkia Origin, but, you know, they had a strategy. They committed to it. Very mature play. Very mature play from Snaps. I see where they were hyped. Unfortunately, sometimes your opponent draws better and has better luck. This means Snaps will be eliminated from the top 8. Let's go ahead and check some of the other games, because now everybody's streaming, so I could just hop between the games. Oh, let's see what Russ is doing! Let's check out Russ. Just, hold on. Yeah. Move that over a little. There we go. Alright, so Russ is playing one of the eviler decks. You know, we got the Giratina Darkrai going on here, and it seems to be an epic match of Giratina Darkrai versus Giratina Darkrai. Russ just got their first 2 prize points with Giratina knocking out an opposing Darkrai, and it seems like the enemy has no prize points. Russ is doing really well. In case anyone missed it earlier, Russ is a player who was almost top 100 in Master Ball. Only missed it due to a Misty Flip. Crazy good player. Yeah, this is a... Oh, and their opponent surrendered, so that's GG. Russ takes the game. I'm not sure if that was their game 2 or game 3. But Russ is looking pretty good. Given thanks to M-Kun. Alright, I think that was game 2. I'm going to guess that that was game 2. So this is probably for all the marbles. This is probably game 3. All the marbles are on the table. Who will move on to top 4? Let's find out. Alright, we see Giratina coming out. Something I might do is like start a battle against the AI on my phone and then put the music from my phones that... Because otherwise it's really inconsistent because sometimes they have the sound on, sometimes they don't. Alright, alright, we got Pokeball. Alright, I'm just gonna have a little water. Starting to get a little allergic. Alright, so really good start. You got the Dark Energy, the Psychic Energy. Russ had an amazing start here. Russ had a really lucky start. Their opponent did not have Giratina on turn 1, which meant that they're just denied energy. And I see that they're running an Arceus deck. This is probably part of the reason. If you're running Arceus, it's a little bit more difficult to draw the Giratinas you need. Yeah, that's why the pure Giratina Darkrai decks, no ponies, is the better deck. You know. If you're running Nightmares and Nightmare Centipedes, they just don't combo well with ponies. It's an unfortunate truth of the Pokemon world. Alright, Giratina's getting healed up here. That'll be pretty good. And just immune to the poke. One turn away from assassinating that Darkrai. Yeah, Russ's opponent just has nothing in the back. They're going for Mars, but I'm not sure if it makes a difference. Especially considering that Mars is basically a supporter version red card at this stage, because no Pokemon have been knocked out yet. With the Darkrai poke and the Nurse Joy, Giratina is going to be very tanky. I feel like Russ is just kind of flexing at this point. Like, I don't think any of that was necessarily necessary. Oh, I guess it was. Yeah, because Darkrai gets to attack because Giratina needed one more Psychic Energy. That's true. So that was necessary. I always forget. Yeah, you have to, because the deck doesn't run Psychic, so you have to build Psychic. Now we see Giratina come out. We might... Yeah, if you're Russ's opponent, if you're running the Arceus deck, you probably don't want to let your Darkrai get murdered. There's Leaf, sure enough. They're going to retreat Darkrai, get it out of harm's way. And they got a bit of a decision what they're going to retreat into. We see Russ kind of eagerly flexing that Cyrus card, kind of showing it to the camera like, hey, look what I got. Hey, look what I got. Yeah, unfortunately, their opponent has put all of their energy on Darkrai and likely will not survive what Russ is about to do. Alright, they're using the Darkrai poke to damage Arceus. That way they could drag it back in with Cyrus later if they want to. Assuming they have two. In comes the Darkrai, and out goes the Darkrai. Yeah, I think Darkrai Giratina has proven itself to be better than the Mewtwo or the Arceus variants. If you want to run Giratina, run it with 2 Darkrai. That is the meta right now. That's GG, and I think we've just seen some very, very clean games from Russ. Russ will be moving on to top 4. Let's go. Big round of applause for Russ, and for their opponent as well. They played really great making it to the top 8. M-kun, great job. And I think there's one more game still going on that I'm just gonna swap to. Oh, and this one comes with music. Okay. Oh, this person's phone is much bigger, so I just need to switch that a little. Okay, so we're watching the final match between a Gary deck and the Giratina deck. And this one's running the Baby Articuno. Alright, so the Baby Articuno is coming in. It looks like they're going to try to stall out this Darkrai. They don't really have any other options on the table. I see 2 Manaphy's and no fish, so it's not looking too good. Let's check out the prize point situation. This player has no prize points. Hold on a second. Make that a little bigger. And this player has no prize points either. So it's dead even, early game. No prize points, no Gyarados, and it looks like the paralysis did not work. Very unfortunate for our Articuno player. It means that they will not be able to stall the Darkrai out. And likely they will lose their only attacking Pokemon with energy this turn. That's... oh, that hurts. That hurts. Oh my goodness. What can you do? What can you do? What can you do against this... not human... Pokemanity. I guess humanity? Pokemanity? Pokemonity. There we go. The Pokemonity! I guess we... yes, that's what we're calling it. Alright, so Articuno goes down, and it looks like the Darkrai player is probably just going to take this at this point. They're hanging in there, though. They're not giving up. I thought they'd surrender, but no. They're like, ah, well, I can sacrifice a Manaphy. I can sacrifice a Manaphy. There's always a chance you get Fish, Misty, Bigger Fish. Just those 3 cards can win you the game. You just need a Fish, a Misty, and a Bigger Fish. And you're good. You're good. You can win with those things. Alright, Mars. That means no Misty, though, but maybe they have Fish. Do they get to go Fish? Doesn't look like it. That's gotta hurt. I'm not entirely convinced they can come back from this, but they're giving it a shot. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, like, mathematically, how do you survive this? Because you're gonna lose 1 Manaphy. You have taken out no Pokemon. And there's nothing you can play that can tank a hit to retreat into. I'm not convinced they're gonna survive this. I'm not sure, but you know, it's a Misty deck. There's always hope when there's Misty. Maybe Misty will get so many energies that the coins will never stop flipping, and their opponent will just time out. Yeah, no, of course they conceded. The game was over. I was being a little silly there. Great game, well played to both players. It looks like the Darkrai Giratina deck is moving on. Next time I play against a Gyarados, I don't want... what don't you want, Russ? Great game, by the way. We were actually watching you at the end there. Alright, I think that was the last game. Yeah, we actually started watching you from the, like, I think the second game forward, and you just kind of swept both games. So... I don't know if you lost the first game, but we didn't see that one. We only saw you win. Yeah, you won 2-0. Right, right. If we didn't see it, it didn't happen. Alright, I think every game has finished, so we should be able to look at the standings. No! That wasn't their last game? That wasn't their last game. Oh, they're still going. Alright. That was just game 2. That was just game 2. These two are taking a bit. Alright, this must be game 3. They must be 1-1. I assume that was game 3, but that was game 2. Game's taking a minute to load. This is probably why they were taking so long. Their games just aren't loading. What's going on? There we go. I just had to move it around a little bit. Oh yeah, bigger phone. Let's shrink that a little. Okay. Alright, this must be game 3. They had to have played game 1 by now. So, game 3. Darkrai versus a Gyarados deck. Now, people have been saying that the Gyarados decks have the full capacity to beat Darkrai Giratina, and if this is game 3, I guess each player has won one. Last game, though, the Gyarados deck bricked, and I talked about this a lot. The reason I don't like Gyaradex is because they brick. And when they brick, there is nothing you can do to win. Nothing. You do not have a fish, and you needed a fish. Now, luckily, they're starting with a fish, but that thing is gonna have an unfortunate encounter with Darkrai if they can't solve this problem very quickly. You see, just by attaching energy to Darkrai, that fish will lose 2/3 of its health. Which is pretty funny when you think about it. Alright, Professor's research gets played, and there's a little bit of lag on the phones. I shall improve their internet connection by sending them positive vibes. Yeah, no, I ended up wearing red just because I was rooting for kind of it was my nod to the Vulpix Blaine player. You know, the one fire deck in the top 31, but they lost, unfortunately. So now I don't match any of the decks. I guess my hat sort of matches the Darkrai decks. That's about it. Yeah, that incredible poke just nuking that poor little fish. Hang in there, Magikarp. You can do it. I can't help but feel bad for the little fish. It's trying so hard. It's flailing, it's flopping around. Ooh. 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 Yeah, you can't rely on those. They just don't happen sometimes. That's the downside to Gyaradex, you know? Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Alright, Magikarp only has 10 health, and it can't really do much, so it's scooting right out of there with Leap Out. Basically a move that lets it retreat without using energy, but it takes its attack. Manaphy is going to get some poke from Darkrai unless we see Cyrus, and this is one of the brutal things about Magikarp into Darkrai. A Cyrus can just snipe you out of the sky. Doesn't seem like they have it, though. Or if they do, they don't want to use it, which would be silly, so they don't have it. Darkrai damages the Manaphy instead, and Giratina's just gonna cultivate Psychic Energy, I guess. Broken Space Bellow. That is such a good attack name. Or ability name, I guess. It's not an attack, but, like, I can just hear it in my head, like this low, frightening, rumbling sound of Giratina bellowing in the distance. And then you look over and it's like, there's something up there. There's something over there. We gotta run. Go. You know, hide. It's just Giratina, very scary. I like the name of that ability. Alright, so the Manaphy player was able to evolve into a Gyarados, which is going to be very important for them. Means they can survive a little bit of harass. They can possibly fight back a little bit. They got a chance now. Oceanic Gift is going to give energy to the Gyarados. and the other Manaphy. Cyrus is needed to damage Gyarados. Maybe. I'm not sure. Depends. So I think what Russ is saying in the chat is that if Cyrus doesn't bring in the Gyarados, and it gets an Alpha Strike on the Darkrai, assuming no reds, no capes, you know, because red counters cape and all that, would probably end up in a situation where the Gyarados is able to sweep. But it's tricky. It's tricky, because Giratina could get a cape and red and attack twice before the Gyarados can attack it twice and it lives. And one Gyarados hit won't kill Giratina unless there's red. So there's a whole bunch of magical card shenanigans that can happen. But you gotta remember that that usually favors the Giratina player, because they have more cards. Like, whenever it comes down to a duel of Sabrinas and Cyruses and capes and reds, oh my, the Giratina player will usually win that duel because they have more. And more is better. Numbers go up. Pokemon go down. You have 4 Pokemon in your deck. You can run a lot more magic cards, basically. I mean, I'm calling them magic cards, but they're trainer cards, you know? But trainer cards are basically spells. They're basically, like, magical things you can do. Action cards, you know? So, you kind of want Misty here. You kind of need a little bit more energy on your Gyarados, so it can come in and kick Darkrai's butt. The fact that Darkrai has Rocky Helmet is interesting. I would have put, like, Cape on it so it could survive the Gyarados, but I guess their reasoning is red might overwhelm the Cape. But with Rocky Helmet instead, now Gyarados will take 20 damage when it attacks, and then it's in range from Giratina plus red. They're kind of thinking multiple steps ahead, you know? If you do this, I'll do that. So I need to do this, so you can't do that, and then I win. Haha. That's sort of what's going through their head. But with more specifics. Russ is laughing at me. Thank you. No, I'm glad you're enjoying my antics. Alright, so there's some decisions to be made this turn. Do you attack the Manaphy? Because if you do, you get Gyarados to the face. If you don't, you likely still get Gyarados to the face. So, I can't conceive of why they wouldn't attack the Manaphy, unless Giratina really needs more energy, but I'm pretty sure it has enough. Alright, here's Dark Prism. Manaphy will go down. That's 1 prize point to the Darkrai Giratina player. And we can be almost certain that Gyarados is going to come in unless they're afraid of a certain thing happening. Yeah. And the only reason you'd send in Palkia is if you were 990,000% sure that your opponent has red and you do not have a healing item. Or cape. Do they have a healing item or cape? Mars. Okay. Yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call. I guess they don't have a healing item or cape. Attacking Darkrai will kill Darkrai, but it'll bring Gyarados down to only 140 health, meaning Giratina plus Giovanni or Red will kill Gyarados. This guy made a mistake. He put the Dark Energy on Darkrai and not Giratina. Ooh, did that happen? Let's take a look. Hold on. You're right. You're right. It's entirely possible that Giratina loses an energy. That didn't happen, though. That didn't happen. The energy got knocked off Darkrai instead. What Russ is talking about in the Twitch chat is basically that if Gyarados had knocked a Psychic Energy off Giratina, it would be unable to attack. And arguably, there was no reason to put extra energy on the back Darkrai, because it could have insulated Giratina. Alright, Professor Oak is not red. And this is actually very awkward, because if Giratina attacks Palkia, Giratina will take 40 reciprocal damage and be in KO range of Gyarados. Sorry, did I say Palkia? Replace the word Palkia with Gyarados, and that sentence makes sense. They're playing a Professor Oak, but that just means they don't have the cards they need. This is a desperate gambit of survival. Because if the Gyarados player has red, it will increase the attack by 20 damage. Oh! Hold on. Cape is online. Here we go. Will that save the Giratina? They're thinking about this. They're like, hold on, hold on, hold on. If I put the cape on Giratina, I'm protected against red. If I put the cape on Darkrai, I'm protected against Sabrina. Which one do I think they have? They chose to protect themselves against red. So now the red supporter card will not be successful in killing the Giratina. But similarly, Giratina cannot attack either. And was energy put on Darkrai? Did they forget to put energy on Darkrai? Hold on. Hold on. Oh, I know what happened. They used Space-Time Bellow and forgot that that ends your turn, and they were unable to put the Darkness energy on Darkrai because they used Space-Time Bellow. So because of that, the Gyarados has 20 more health and Darkrai's missing an energy. Oh, that's brutal. You can't forget that kind of thing. Space-Time Bellow doesn't just give you energy, it ends your turn. That's the big mechanical weakness of the ability. Pressure of top 8. Pressure of top 8. Oh, that could decide the game. I feel so bad. But you can't make that kind of mistake at this level of play. You can't make that kind of mistake. There's red coming off of Gyarados. But this won't KO the Giratina. Which means that had they attached that darkness energy, had they done that, Giratina could have forced a tie here by sacrificing itself to KO Gyarados. And then they'd be tied. But that tie is now impossible because they made that mistake. No, the tie is still possible. What am I saying? I can't do math. The tie is still possible. Yeah, no, they're good. They're totally fine. Whoa, got a little dramatic for a second there. This will still create a tie. This will still create a tie, as long as they hit the right button. Don't hit the button on top. The button on top loses. I gotta keep things interesting, you know? And I definitely didn't do... I did that on purpose. I didn't do the math wrong. I didn't do no math wrong. Alright, so Giratina does not have the ability to KO Gyarados without KOing itself. So this is a draw. And I don't know what happens now. This was their third game, right? I'm pretty sure they just tied game 3. So this means they're 1-1-1. I think it's first who made the first KO. No, that's not how it works. They create a new game and the first to get a point wins. Oh! Okay. Sudden death! We get a sudden death! Let's go! It is how it works. Yeah, sorry, no, I misunderstood what you were saying. I thought you were saying, like, that breaks the tie in Pokemon Pocket, but that breaks the tie in PLL is what you meant. That makes sense, that makes sense. That mistake hurts, yeah. They got away with it, though. They managed to get away with it. I'm confused. Is this the No EX tournament or what? Hey, Corrupt. So no, this is the PLL. We're in top 8 for the PLL, and we're in a sudden death between 2 of the top 8 players. It's very exciting. So the PLL was, if you've seen the Ursi Day, this was basically the Ursi Day before the Ursi Day. It was one of the first big Pokemon Pocket tournaments. It's still running. It's one of the biggest tournaments. The title's rung on Twitch. Wait, what? Hold on, what's the title on Twitch? Gosh darn it, I can't control that because it's the PLL's Twitch. Alright, yeah, no, maybe somebody could fix that because I don't have any control over the PLL Twitch. I only have the key to stream to it. So I can't change the title. Thanks for pointing that out, Paranoia. I appreciate that. Hopefully somebody can fix that. The title's correct on YouTube, because it's my YouTube, but it's not my Twitch, so I can't fix that. Where is the sudden death? So I think they're talking to the judges right now, because they probably had the same question I did, what happens now? I think they have a problem because someone put the win. Ah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, they're talking to the judges, they'll work it out. And then we get to watch sudden death. So, apparently sudden death works like this in the PLL. They're gonna play again, and the first to get 1 prize point wins. Now, honestly, I don't know who this favors. I'm not really sure, but I think the Darkrai Giratina player is probably favored. Because there's a much higher chance of the Manaphy dropping, right? Yeah, come to think of it, these tiebreaker rules are kind of brutal for Gyarados decks, because the deck basically counts on Manaphy dying. Like, Manaphy is a sacrificial lamb, right? So, yeah, that's rough for the Gyarados decks. These tiebreaker rules seem super in favor of Giratina Darkrai, because it's really easy for those decks to get first KO. But then again, some of the Giratina Darkrai counter decks would benefit from it, because it's easier to KO 1 than 2. Because by the time you KO the first Pokemon, they have 2 more Pokemon in the back. They should start soon? Alright. Thanks, Connor. Alright, so yeah, they're just setting up. They're just setting up. They didn't understand what was going on. I'm not sure if this has ever happened before. This is exciting. Sudden death in the PLL. First to lose a Pokemon is eliminated from top 8 and doesn't get to go to top 4. Oh, that's pressure. Unless Misty, Darktina's favorite. That's true, though. Misty could come online and just poof a KO. Entirely possible. I feel like if that happened, though, you'd also win a normal game. Right? I feel like if you get that lucky with Misty, you win anyway. It's hard to time to this. Just trying to time it to the music, it didn't quite work. Yoink! Alright, so we're just waiting on the players for the sudden death. I figure since we have to deal with sudden death soon, we might as well have some wholesome Bulbasaur to balance it out, you know? Adorable Bulbasaur, sudden death, it balances. One of them is very confused. Trying to get them to start. Got it. Got it. Yeah, no, that's fair. This is a weird situation. I've never seen this before. A tie in the finals. They're literally 1-1 and 1. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 tie. Sudden death. Wahahaha. Alright, here we go. It looks like they're getting started. Okay. We're gonna see how this shakes out. Only one can move on. Here we go. They're a queuing. I'm way too excited about this. It's just really interesting. First to get a KO wins. Like, this is gonna slam. I've noticed this player does not have the best internet connection. Like, it takes a while to load. Them or their opponent. Misty can carry? Maybe. Yeah, Russ, you don't think the Gyarados player will win? They could. But, yeah, no, it's gonna be tough. It depends if they get Darkrai or Giratina first. Because, like, if Darkrai comes out first, That's 3 energy you can attack. But if Giratina comes out first, it's a little weird. Okay, so the Darkrai player gets to go second. That's a big advantage. Think about how big of an advantage that is normally in sudden death. First energy against Manaphy? Ugh. Unless Misty happens. Unless Misty happens. Alright, the game begins, and it's Magikarp. This is gonna end one way or another. Either the Nightmare from the Beyond is going to obliterate our adorable little fish, or this fish is going to eat a Nightmare. Either way, this is gonna be epic. Remember, by the rules of sudden death, first KO wins. Well, first prize point wins. I wonder what happens if they do a mutual KO again. That would be funny. Alright, no Misty happened, but we did see Professor Oak. It's possible they drew a Misty, it's possible they drew a Gyarados. They might have drawn what they need to turn this around. We don't see anything else on the bench, which suggests that they either had no other bench Pokemon, or they're going all in on Gyarados. Alright, we see the poke damage come down from the Darkrai. Everyone in chat's talking about how it's kind of got to be Misty. There might not be any other way. We'll see what happens. Here we go. They're thinking. They're putting stuff on the bench. I don't know if you do put anything on the bench. You could get Sabrina stalled that way. Why would you put something on the bench? I'm not sure if that was the right move. I'm not sure if putting something on the bench was the right move here. I mean, you lose a Pokemon, you lose the game. Why put anything on the bench? They're not used to this. They're really not used to this. But this is, like, how often does this come up? This never happens. Magikarp player has not played anything, so they probably don't have it. They put Cape on the Magikarp, so it could survive one more Darkrai poke. Misty! They do have Misty, though! Okay, so they must not have Gyarados. That's 2 energy. But it's not enough. They need another Misty and they need a Gyarados. Whoa. 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 This is spicy. Are they gonna play that Mars? Are we gonna see that Mars? Because you risk giving them anything they need. They're thinking about it. They're thinking about it. What kind of bet do you want to make? Do you bet that they have it? Or do you bet that they don't have it? They played it! To be fair, if the Magikarp player had Gyarados, they should have evolved last turn. There was very little reason not to. So, I'm thinking it very likely that they didn't have it, and they might now. But I don't see an immediate Gyarados, so maybe they don't have it even now. That's brutal. Do they still not have it? They have it! They have it! Oh! They have it! But they need more energy. They need more energy. They're gonna have to wait for next turn. Do they have red? Do they have... This is gonna come down to red. This is gonna come down to red. Red or Sabrina. Either one wins. Wow. This is ping-ponging back and forth. Like, every turn. Every turn. What is even going on? I know! What is even going on? The best Mars. That was probably not a good Mars. Dark Prism goes down. Sabrina or Red wins the game for Gyarados, but you have to play one of them. That is not a card that changes the game in any way that I understand. Unless they're Ionaing or something. They don't have it. They have it! Oh, they have it! They have it! They played red. That's GG. The Gyarados player pulls off a miracle. I don't even know what to make of this. How did they win? How did they win? Mars carried. We broke the game! I can't. Oh. We literally broke the game! That's amazing! Oh my god! The Mars player! Oh, they shouldn't have played Mars there. I don't think they should have played Mars there! Because if they had Gyarados, they would have evolved the previous turn. This caster is amazing. Thank you, I appreciate that. I think the Mars actually gave them the cards they needed to win. Wow, but it was a tough call. It was a tough call. You don't know. You know, maybe they made a social read. Maybe they knew the player and was like, I bet they're holding Gyarados, you know? But it's easy to say that in retrospect. You know, it's easy for us watching it to say that in retrospect. You got to give respects to the players, you know. They went to sudden death in top 8. Major respect to both of these players. But I do think that Mars was a mistake. And the player also did kind of forget to attach energy the turn before. These are kind of mistakes that you probably can't make at this level, at this kind of tournament. But still, great player. Congrats for making it this far. The Gyarados player will be moving on. Let's take a look at the bracket for top 4. Whew. That was fun. Alright, so I'm gonna refresh the screen here, see if the bracket's updated. Alright, yes, we've got an updated bracket. Just keep moving it this way. So, M-kun, I assume Russ won? I'm not sure. Limitless is having trouble figuring out what happened there. But I'm pretty sure we're looking at Manume versus Russ. So this will be another Gyarados versus Giratina. And then down here, wow! The Palkia EX Gyarados player and the Meow Arceus player both survived to top 4. These aren't exactly gimmick decks, but they're weird meta decks. They're meta decks plus. Like, this is a Gyarados deck that's also running Palkia, and this is an Arceus deck that's also running Meow, or arguably a Meow deck that's also running Arceus. So these players are both running interesting combinations of meta cards that themselves are not meta. So I'm actually hugely happy with how this turned out. We have one weird Gyarados deck, one weird Meow Arceus deck, a regular Gyarados deck, and Giratina Darkrai. Giratina Darkrai didn't even make 2 of top 4. There's only one Giratina Darkrai in top 4. Oh no, what happened to Random Ways? Did Random Ways lose? Wait, where did Random Ways go? Hold on. Where did Random Ways go? Oh, Random Ways didn't make it out of top 31. Gosh darn it, I was rooting for her. Sorry, Random Ways. Congrats on making it this far. Alright, so this is actually kind of crazy. I didn't expect this, but there's only 1 out of 4 Giratina Darkrai decks in the finals. It's mostly Garys. I didn't see that coming. You watched a clip of me yesterday saying I didn't think that many Garys were going to make it. I said like a few would make it, maybe like 2, and they drop out pretty quick, but these Garys are kicking butt. That crazy sudden death hype. Wow. Oh, that was a game. That was a game. The best Mars of all time. That will go down in history one way or another. That was a cool sudden death match. That was an epic sudden death match. That Magikarp would not give in. Absolutely not. Mistakes were made. I mean, there were a few mistakes on behalf of the Darkrai player. Like, they shouldn't have put another card on the bench. That opened them up to Sabrina for no reason. There was the energy attach thing You know, and they probably shouldn't have played Mars. So there were a few mistakes that led to this point. But still, that was a hype game. That was a really hype game. Alright, so round 4 should be starting. All the streams are starting. I'm gonna start spectating now. Give me a moment. Here we go. Alright, and we're spectating the Carnivine player. Wait a minute. Was there a Carnivine player? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Am I missing something? Was there a Carnivine player? Wait. Who was the Carnivine player? Hold on. Hold on. Who's running Carnivine? I don't... Is this Rocky's deck? Wait a minute. Okay, yeah, this is Rocky's deck. This is Rocky's deck. Hold on a second. Okay, so they're running Sprigatito, Florigato, Meowscarada, Carnivine, Arceus, and Baby Arceus. That's a crazy combo. Let me put the game back on the screen there. It disappeared for a second. And it looks like Carnivine just assassinated a Manaphy. Well, that escalated quickly. I'm gonna just fix the size of this a little bit. Everyone's got different phones, so I constantly have to adjust it a little bit. Alright, so the Carnivine did its job, took out a Manaphy. We see that Palkia is being powered up in the back, and Baby Articuno is tanking. Meanwhile, you've got the Meowscarada building up on the bench. I feel really good for the Arceus player here. You know, this is actually funny, but this is one of the players we spectated at the earliest stages of this tournament. This is one of the first people we were watching. So, Rocky's come a long way. Yeah, we've been watching Rocky since the beginning. And now we see them again here in top 4. What are the odds, right? It was just like one of the random hundreds of games we were spectating. Ooh, that looked good. That looked good. Yeah, no, Rocky's popping off in this game. They're getting everything they need. They got the Carnivine start into the Manaphy. They've got the Meowscarada evolution. They've got Arceus on the bench. They could literally just cycle cards that aren't Arceus and still kill everything. This is an army of plants empowered by Arceus. Bulbasaur, get over here and cheer for your type. An army of plants, like, empowered by Arceus to just kick butt and destroy the Gyarados decks. Instant surrender! Yeah, game 1 goes to Rocky. Let's go, Rocky! That was just devastation. That was Carnivine doing exactly what it was meant to do. No question. This is why you play Carnivine. To take out the Manaphy and sweep the water decks. Definitely good draws there. Definitely, like, I think they were going second. I'm not completely sure. But, you know, great deck choice. Great deck choice. This is a wonderful counter to Gyarados decks. Yeah, they're going right into game 2. Rocky is very eager to kick butt. Also gotta give respect to their opponent, NE, who's playing an off-meta Gyarados deck, one with a Palkia EX. That is not easy to play. I want to stress this. That is not easy to play. They are deliberately playing a more difficult Gyarados deck to make the Palkia happen. Because Palkia, there's so many things that can go wrong with Palkia EX. It can be a Sabrina-able EX that can lose prize points. It discards energy. It's a very difficult card to use in a Gyarados deck. Okay, so game 1 had a very favorable opening draw for Rocky, for the Arceus plant player. This is not that. They're staring down Manaphy, but they have Arceus in the active slot. That's not what you want. You want Carnivine in the active slot. They're going first, so they're down on energy. And retreating Arceus sounds very difficult. Unless you have Leaf, it's going to cost a ton. So right now, the water player has a bit of a better opening. Yeah, I think Arceus start is the worst possible opening for Rocky's deck. You start Carnivine, you can kick butt. You start Sprigatito, you can kick butt. You start Arceus. What do you do? What do you do? And given that there are 4 non-Arceus basic Pokemon in this deck, the odds of being forced to start Arceus are not that high, but it can happen. In order for it to happen, your guaranteed basic has to be Arceus, and your other 4 cards, I think, or 5 cards have to be not Arceus. Yeah, no, 4 cards. So, very unfortunate, very unfortunate. Only 1 out of 3 chance of the Arceus being chosen, and I'm not sure the exact odds, but additional chances of you just not getting any of the plants. Enough math. So, because of all this, Rocky is in a rough position, and the water player is popping off now. We got energy on Magikarp, energy on Articuno, but that's not going to stop Rocky from powering up their back line. They're putting the energy on Arceus, possibly for retreat, possibly for an attack, but they're evolving Pokemon in the back, so that we will probably see that Meowscarada come online. That could be important for taking out a Gyarados. Music just died for a second. I think their phone disconnected for a split second there. Alright, more energy being stacked onto the fish. We've seen how powerful Gyarados can be. Manaphy dumps more energy onto these Pokemon, and either one will be ready to attack next turn. Well, Gyarados requires Gyarados, but Articuno can attack next turn. Arceus puts on a second energy and a cape. The idea being, if Gyarados does come online, it can at least survive, provided that there's no red. But wow, this is brutal for the Arceus deck. It's been 3 turns. They've had 3 turns of play and have been unable to make any progress. And now, yeah, I guess they didn't have Gyarados because Articuno is attacking. If Articuno paralyzes Arceus, that could be game. But it's up to the coin. What do you flip? Brutal. Brutal. That's so hard for the Arceus. Oh my goodness. The Arceus player can't retreat, can't attack. It is a sitting duck. And even if Meowscarada activates now... Yeah, you can't retreat a paralyzed Pokemon. Wait! Wait, but it's not paralyzed! It's not paralyzed! Because Arceus is immune to being paralyzed. Hold on. Hold on. Arceus could have attacked. Arceus could have attacked. I think the player, like me, forgot that their Arceus was immune to that. So, oh no. That so rarely comes up. That almost never comes up. But it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's so brutal. If it helps, I don't know if it would have made a difference, but... Yeah, I mean, the Arceus still would have died there. So I don't think it would have made a difference. I think they lost either way. But that's something you have to remember. If your Pokemon is immune to being paralyzed, you gotta remember that. And if you're casting a tournament, you also gotta remember that. I gotta remember that too. How often does that happen? I've never actually seen it come up before. Alright, so we're on game 3, and this is it. This is for all the marbles. You want to get to the semi-finals of the PLL tournament. You need to win right here. Or tie and go into another sudden death. I wouldn't mind that in the slightest. But yeah, I don't think these decks can tie very easily. They are not designed to do that, unless we get like a Rocky helmet thing happening. Okay. So Rocky will get to go first. Carnivine's start is really nice, but they don't appear to have Arceus yet. If they do, they decided not to put it on the bench. the Palkia. So, oh no, the phone battery. The truest, most overpowered card in the game. Don't let your phone die. Plug that in, buddy. Don't let your phone die. That is not how you want to lose this. Alright, so we see energy on the Carnivine, but they don't have Arceus. So this will only do 20 damage. That is Carnivine's weakness? I mean, it's an 80 health, 20 attack Pokemon with the grass typing. But let's call it a weakness. It can't do 50 overpowered damage unless Arceus is on the field. So, it's only going to tickle Palkia. Meanwhile, we see the Fish and the Cryo Phoenix both get put on the bench. 30 damage to Carnivine. Things are not looking so good for Rocky right now. Carnivine is supposed to counter Manaphy, not Palkia. Alright, we see Sprigatito activate. It's going to use its ability, try to pull some evolution cards. And this is a very smart move, because they probably didn't get good draws. Rocky probably didn't get good draws. And so they're rotating out of doing tickle damage and into just trying to get more cards, get more evolutions. You can get Masquerada online, you can start doing work against this Palkia. Early Gyarados online, but there's no Manaphy. So, do they power up the Gyarados or the Palkia? Are we going to see Misties come down? You're thinking about it. This is the very decision they're probably thinking about right now. Which Pokemon do I power up? Ooh, they're putting Manaphy on the bench. That's an interesting choice. I guess that's safe because the Arceus player doesn't really have much bench damage. I don't think I saw any Rotoms in their deck. Alright, so they're just focusing on powering up the Palkia. Nothing on the Gyarados yet. We could see Sprigatito evolve, but the problem is it kind of can't because it's just going to get destroyed by Palkia. No, not necessarily. I think with the evolution it would have enough health to live. But then it couldn't do this. There's that thing you were looking for. So now Masquerada will come in after, and Palkia is at the perfect health that if it doesn't heal or cape, it would go down to the 130 damage. We see a Pokeball get played. There's not really anything you can put on the bench right now, so it's probably just to thin out the deck a little bit, make it more likely that their next draw is something good. Irida is going to be brutal for Rocky, because now Palkia will not go down to a Masquerada unless a certain thing happens. Oh! Uno reverse card just activated. Instead of... Whoa! Okay, I didn't expect any of this. But instead of caping the Palkia and making the Palkia secure and wiping out the Sprigatito, they decided to spend all of their energy to retreat Palkia, to bring on Manaphy, and then they've got Manaphy stacked so it has 70 health, it can't be KO'd. There's literally nothing that can KO it, because Red won't work on Manaphy. And as a result of all of this craziness... But Sabrina was played! Oh, the stuff's happening too fast, I can't even narrate it in time. So, because of the fact that Manaphy came in, Palkia lost energy. Gyarados has more energy, but they were going to use Manaphy to keep stacking more energy so it would be efficient in one turn. But Sabrina stopped that from happening. Masquerada's moved onto the field from Sprigatito retreating, and it's going to do 60 damage to Articuno, who has no energy, and so 1 energy would have to be dumped for Articuno to retreat. Which would still give 2 energy to Gyarados and Palkia, but would put them in a 1 prize point position, which probably doesn't even matter. So, there's a lot happening, is basically the sum of it. For all the pro players who understood everything I said and are actually a step ahead, you know what I'm talking about, and for everyone else, the situation is really crazy. We've got Gyarados, Palkia, Masquerada, Carnivine. Ooh, that was a nice draw. Russ made it to the finals! Let's go! Alright, so it turns out Russ, who we've been following and pops into the chat between games, has made it to the finals and will be playing the winner of this game. Masquerada can only do 60 damage to basic Pokemon like Manaphy. It excels at attacking EX Pokemon, like the Gyarados or the Palkia, but when attacking babies like Manaphy, it loves them too much. It can't do too much damage, so it only did 60 damage. Because of the cape, Super Manaphy got to survive with 10 health, And it's all coming down to this. Yeah, Palkia has enough energy to use its super move next turn. Gyarados, if it gets powered by the Manaphy, will be able to attack next turn. It's looking really sharp for the water player here. Rocky's in a bit of trouble. Rocky's definitely in a little bit of trouble here. There's Arceus, finally, which gives Carnivine the ability to do increased damage. We see Leaf played. That will give a free retreat to the Masquerada, allowing it to run away without the threat of losing any of its energy, which is very important when you're dealing with a Gyarados that can steal your energy like an energy vampire. Every time Gyarados attacks, for those who don't know, it will pick one energy on the field. Could be mine, could be yours, could be that guy over theirs. Well, it'll take one energy and pluck it into the discard pile. Since you never know whose it's going to be, there's always a threat that Gyarados will delete your energy, and so you have to be a little bit careful when you're playing against Gyarados. Maybe over-energy a little bit. Alright, they could have gone with the Palkia here, but they decided to go with Gyarados instead. Venus was just played. I take it that that's Mars. Why is it called Venus? That's an interesting translation. I'm actually really curious of the reason for that. Alright, Gyarados attacks. This is going to obliterate Carnivine from existence. And it will delete an energy from itself. That can happen. Masquerada comes in. Both players are, I believe, at 1 prize point apiece. We see Arceus EX get played to the bench, but it's probably not going to come online in time, if my math is right. That being said, my math is probably wrong because they're adding energy to it. Professor Oak is played. We see a Pokeball and a Floragato. Floragato. That name literally means flower cat. It's Flora and Gato. It's flower cat. Oh my... Why did it take me so long to realize that? Its name is Flower Cat. That's amazing. So, Masquerada could attack Gyarados here and deal 130 damage. But is it going to be enough? Ooh. What? What? Wait a minute. I don't understand the play. I don't understand the play. Gato is cat in Portuguese. I think it's cat in a few different languages. Yeah, I think there are several different Latin-derived languages where gato is cat. I don't know why they retreated into the flower cat. I mean, I was talking about it, so maybe I psychically made it happen, but now they have no way to kill Gyarados. Right? Why? What was the play? I don't... Maybe they were stalling. Maybe they just wanted to stall for a certain card. It had to have been a stall move. I guess the only way it makes sense. It had to have been a stall move, but unfortunately, Gyarados deleted energy from the Masquerada because they were powering up the Arceus. And like I said, the Arceus wasn't going to make it in time. They should have put the extra energy on the Masquerada if they wanted to do this. But I don't know that it would have mattered. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're thinking, what they're playing for, but this looks like a very difficult situation. Sabrina also wins it for the water player. If they have Sabrina, it's GG. Masquerada lost? I don't know yet. It's as we've learned, it is not over. Oh! There is 9 energy on the field on behalf of the water player, but Gyarados keeps rolling Masquerada's energy and deleting it. It is a very unfortunate situation. It is a very unfortunate situation, yeah. I don't know what their plan was. I would have liked to have seen it played out. That was some unfortunate luck at the end there. Gyarados deleting that energy was super unlikely. That was like a 1 in 10 chance of that happening, but Well, GG, great game to both players. Rocky, you were amazing. It was so cool seeing you in the beginning of the tournament and then here at the end. And congrats to our Palkia Gyarados player for playing a really interesting version of the Gyarados deck that seems to be working for them. We're going to go into the finals. It's going to be Russ versus... Wait. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on a second. It's gonna be Russ. Russ is playing Giratina Darkrai. Oh no! Who do we root for? Oh, these are the questions. So this is going to come down to a Giratina Darkrai deck. The best deck. Let's be real. Giratina Darkrai is the best deck right now. More Giratina Darkrai decks entered the top cut than any other deck. It dominated this tournament. Had a great win rate despite so many people playing it. It's the best deck. But I have been told it struggles against Gyarados. We have seen some Palkia decks able to challenge it. This is a deck that has Gyarados and Palkia together. Will Giratina Darkrai be dethroned by a Gary deck using Palkia EX? I guess we'll find out. And just a reminder, this is the PLL tournament. It was the first big original Pokemon Pocket tournament, and it will be having invitationals in a couple of weeks. The invitationals are probably the most competitive Pokemon Pocket tournament right now, because in order to enter, you have to be invited by having enough points from winning several tournaments. It's not enough to just win one. So only players who not just got lucky in one tournament, but consistently won, can participate in the Invitational. It's going to be the best of the best. I highly recommend checking it out. I might be streaming that in a couple weeks. Pretty cool. So, but before we get into that, let's check out our final game. Russ is streaming. This is it. Winner takes all. And button. There we go. Just gotta nudge. Nudge, nudge, nudge. Okay. Unfortunately, Russ's phone does not have a good internet connection, but we can still see what's going on. So, final game of the PLL. Winner is the champion of this tournament. Russ is playing Giratina Darkrai, went first with Giratina, and got that energy kind of absorption that Giratina really likes. But Manaphy gets to go second. Manaphy loves going second. With 2 bench Pokemon. Only 1 bench Pokemon? That's sad. Oh no. Only an Articuno in the back. And this is a baby Articuno. We've seen a couple baby Articuno so far. I gotta say, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that they're good, but I'm not sure that they're bad either. I think they're an option. They're an option to have. I don't know if they're overpowered. I don't know if it's the latest fad, but we've seen those baby Articunos do pretty well so far. So, I don't know. Maybe that's the Gary deck we should all be building. Maybe this is the future of Gary decks. Just because this is the final battle, and I'd like a little bit of epicness, I'm going to turn on my phone, and then turn on the music from my phone, which is not working because I have music turned off. Alright, I'll fix that in a second, but I want to hear the game, gosh darn it. Alright, so Giratina already has a ton of energy attached. This is looking pretty scary for the water player. They've already retreated their Manaphy. Or, no, sorry, they were forced to retreat their Manaphy by means of Sabrina. Not the best position. It means they're going to be much slower in putting energy on things. Russ's internet connection continues to lag the game. And Darkrai comes out. No, there is no Darkrai. It was just lagging. We were misled. Manaphy comes out. Articuno retreats into Manaphy, who will then put energy back on the fish and Palkia, it looks like. Alright, so the water player is online now. There was a little fuzziness. Russ used Sabrina to stall, but the water player will not be deterred. They continue to play the game, they continue to make moves, and they continue to set up for their win condition. Meanwhile, though, we see the Darkrai continue to chip away. We see the Giratina continue to build power. Giratina can start attacking next turn. Things are about to get explosive. And I'm going to figure out how to turn the music back on. Aha! Is it working? I think it's working. This is actually funny. You can hear it, but I can't. Wait, what is my phone doing? Okay, that works. Alright, so Manaphy is charging up power to both Pokemon once again. This is going to put a lot of energy on the Magikarp, on the Palkia. Let me know who you think is going to win in the comments. Game 1 for the championship. Cape comes down on Darkrai. This is intense. We get a little more poke on that Manaphy. It's not going to last much longer. Is Giratina going to attack? It's kind of interesting. If you attack here, you damage your own Giratina. But if you don't attack, you let Manaphy live another turn. Do you really want to let Manaphy live another turn? It's a tough call. Russ is thinking about it, I can tell. And I definitely did not accidentally start a game of Ranked on my phone while trying to set the music up. Hopefully, the sound effects are somewhat equivalent, so that there's an element of epicness for this championship match. Alright, so Russ will decide to attack, picking up the first point. Giratina damages itself, dealing 20 damage. That could put it in range of Gyarados, but... Or Palkia. It does put it in range of Palkia. It just dies to Palkia. But what's going on? The player isn't clicking. What happened? Magikarp got sent in. What happened? It looked like they were clicking Palkia. Didn't it look like they were tapping Palkia? Hold on. Was there a bug? Does anybody know what happened? Oh my goodness. Did a bug just happen? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. I guess, I don't know. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out what just went down. Alright, Matt. They've retreated into Articuno. I don't know what just happened. It's entirely possible that there was a bug in the game or someone lagged. I don't know. It looked to me like I saw the clicking animation on the Palkia. No, but we're watching Russ. We're watching Russ. We're not watching the other player. So Russ was clicking Palkia. Russ knew they should switch into Palkia. But they didn't do anything. I don't know what the water player was thinking. Why didn't they switch into Palkia? Why didn't they switch into Palkia? Hyper Beam the Giratina away, that would have been the move, right? Wouldn't that have been the move? I'm not sure what just happened. Does anybody in the comment section have an idea? I don't know what just happened. This is a crazy finals. Well, Articuno's gonna get smoked. I mean, it can't survive against the pressure of Darkrai. Giratina's in the back line all healed up. I mean, this is looking nice for us. Also, I legit forgot I had something going on my phone this whole time. This is why my ranked score is awful, by the way, because I do silly things like start a ranked game to provide music for stream, knowing that I'm just gonna lose because I can't watch the game. I am sacrificing my ELO for you guys. I hope you appreciate this. Alright, so the Gyarados has come out. So maybe their crazy gambits of sacrificing Articunos was worth it. I thought it was like a bug, I didn't understand it, but they're kicking butt. Okay, now that did delete energy from the Gyarados, not from the Giratina. But this is anybody's game right now. This is anybody's game. Giratina will put itself down to 150 health. I get it now. Wow, the water player's a genius. I didn't understand what they were doing. I thought it must have been a bug. But they're brilliant. Look at the situation. Giratina can't attack. Because if Giratina attacks, Palkia will come in and kill Giratina. On Sabrina, Palkia wins anyway. On Red, Palkia wins anyway. That's why the water player did not KO the Darkrai. Wait, but that's assuming they have a prize point. Do they even have a prize point yet? Hold on. Do they even have a prize point? Am I getting overly excited? Wait a minute. Yeah, they do have prize points. Okay, yep. Yeah, the water player is a genius. The water player is absolutely brilliant. They've defeated Russ in game 1. Great plays. Just Google PTCG soundtrack. I don't want to do that because I'm worried if I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to play actual music from the game. I don't know if I'm allowed to play that. So I'm being careful. That's why. But yeah, maybe we can find out for next time. In any case, great game 1. Amazing plays by the water player. I didn't see what they were doing at all. But that was brilliant. Yeah, no, they realized what their win con was. And just kind of took the game. And if anybody watching was fighting me in ranked, I do apologize for that. I'm just going to keep this music on for now. The do. Maybe I can start a game against an AI. Yeah, let me do that instead. Alright, so Russ has to win this one. Or they're done. And Giratina Darkrai is on the back foot in this finals. How crazy is that? We thought Giratina Darkrai would be dominating, and they were dominating. But alright, here we go. Alright, Russ got second. That's good. That's good for Russ. Not as good for the water player. You want that extra energy as water. Energy is really important. I guess I don't get to use this because no one's playing a dragon. Gyarados is a dragon. Giratina's a dragon. We could still cheer for dragons. Gyarados should be a dragon type. I don't know why I don't know why Mega Gyarados is a dark type. Make it a dragon type. Dragons are awesome. Just saying, should have been a dragon type. Ooh. We got the early fish. Double Manaphy, though. Alright, Darkrai's going to do that peck damage to Manaphy. That's pretty good. It's all coming down to this. Russ has to win this game. If Russ does not win this game, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy that Gyarados deck and go straight to Master Ball. That's what we're doing. If Russ doesn't win this game, I'm stealing that Gary deck. For sure. And it doesn't look easy to run either. This is why I have more respect for this Gary deck than other Gary decks, because Palkia EX makes it really crazy to run. Like, you saw that in the last game, right? In the last game, there was this crazy decision. They could have gotten an easy KO with Palkia. Instead, they full-sacked Baby Articuno, made it look like they timed out. And then froze Giratina by, like, pinning it to its own counterattack damage. That was so good. Alright, so Darkrai is almost ready to attack, and with its peck damage, it will finish off Manaphy. You're the water player, you cannot let that happen, or Darkrai gets a double KO turn. Gary comes online. Yep, there's the retreat, because you just don't want to give the double attack. Energy on Gyarados. Manaphy's going to put more energy on Gyarados, and now Gyarados is ready to one-shot Darkrai. This is looking very scary for Russ. This is looking terrifying for Russ. Is Gary the way to go? Do I make this deck? Do we try this deck? Russ is good. Russ won games so fast, it was like their opponent didn't even show up. But yeah, no, seriously, Russ is a good player. Russ is one of the top players in the world. So, the fact that they are this on the back foot, I don't know. Palkia Gyarados. Palkia EX Gyarados. Maybe this is the way. Alright, we see Leaf getting played. It's just going to be a retreat cycle into Giratina, and that makes sense. Giratina is beefy enough to survive a hit from Gyarados, as long as it doesn't have red. It can use a Space Crisis Bellow. I'm pretty sure that's what the name of the ability is. And counter hit the Gyarados, and then bring in Darkrai afterwards to finish it off. Kind of Russ's only hope here. There's the famous Palkia. Now the question is, I guess they're not going for the kill. Yeah, no. Most players would just be like, all right, let me rush this, let me bring in Gyarados. No, they made the decision to use Misty here instead. I want to stress this. That's a weird decision. Not a bad decision, a weird decision. Most players would not want to risk the Manaphy going down. But this player, they know what they're about. They're like, no, I can afford Manaphy going down. I can even afford 2 Manaphys going down. Just give me tons of energy, so I'm proofed against my own Gyarados. And then we'll take out Giratina with the Palkia Blast, or with Gyarados Red next turn. They're playing this very well, though the water player is making very intelligent moves. I can't even predict what they're doing. Like, I'm not right all of the time, I miss things, but usually I know what the players are doing. This water player, I can't predict them at all. They're making moves at, like, the next level. Such a good player. Okay, so they Cyrused in the Manaphy, and then are picking it off with the Darkrai. I don't know if that's a good move unless Russ has multiple Cyruses, because they just feed you another Manaphy. Can you attack it? No, you can't attack it. So why Cyrus it? I guess the idea was they wanted to... Okay. I think Russ was thinking they wanted to pick up a kill, pick up a prize point, without attacking, so that Giratina could still survive Gyarados. Because if Palkia has to attack, then Palkia will lose energy. And then maybe you bring down the Palkia next. Maybe that's the plan, right? But you need another Cyrus for that. If Russ doesn't have another Cyrus, they're in trouble. They're hovering over that surrender. There's 5 energy on Palkia. Was that a surrender? Did Russ just get swept by this? Swept? Sweepted? GG! We have our champion. Very convincing fashion. This Palkia deck just destroyed Darkrai Giratina. This Palkia Gyarados deck. What a finals. What a finals indeed, DJ. That was... I didn't expect this. I thought we would just see another another Giratina Darkrai deck win, but Gary won. And it was a weird Gary. It was a Palkia EX Gary. That's not even the normal Gary. Major applause to Russ. And major applause to the player whose name I need to figure out so I can give them proper credit. Hold on a second there. Going to the standings here. NE! It was NE! Yeah, no, they were one of the gimmickers I was rooting for earlier on. NE has become the PLL champion. Well done. Well done. That's going to earn them a ton of championship points, which are useful in the PLL Invitational. Coming up in a couple of weeks, it's going to be the best of the best. Every player who has topped the PLL consistently, and I think also the LLL, will be competing in the ultimate tournament to decide who is the best of this season. This is, I think, season 2 of the PLL. So for half of the lifetime of Pokemon Pocket, who is the absolute best player? Very excited. Can't wait to see that in a couple of weeks. Congratulations to NE on the championship, and congratulations to all our players. I want to give a shout out to everybody who has topped this tournament ladder. If we look at the final records, NE has come in first place with 10 wins, 2 losses, and 1 tie, running Gyarados Palkia. Russ94 has come in second place with 9 wins, 3 losses, and 1 tie, running Darkrai Giratina. Impressively, the next person, the third place, was GLX Menume Fisto 56, running a common Gary deck. Rocky Kinkan, who we were rooting for a little bit before, running Meowscarada Arceus with Carnivine Tech. Big Boy Snaps running another Gary deck. We had M-Kun and Perfection 24 running Giratina Darkrai for 6th and 7th place. And in 8th place, we have Elwood running Meowscarada and Magnezone. So, you know, there's not the most variety in the world. There's Darkrai decks, Gary decks, and Meowscarada decks. And that was kind of it in the top 8. But there were some cool stuff that we definitely saw. We saw a Dragonite deck almost make it to top cut. We saw a Blaine deck that did make it to top cut. We saw a Blaine deck in top 31. That's amazing. And the winner was not a standard deck. It was a Palkia variant of Gary. So congratulations to everybody who made it to the final 31 of this tournament. Well done. I was memeing a little bit on Darkrai Giratinas, but it is a very technical and difficult deck to play when you're in a mirror match. You know, it's a very strong deck, and as we've seen, mistakes can happen. Well played to absolutely everybody participating. I hope you enjoyed the PLL so far. And just to end off this stream, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the deck of the person who won the championship and see how we do in ranked. Let's try it. Let's just, you know, give it a little try. Well, maybe, you know, do I have the ability to pilot something like this? Well, we'll find out. We'll find out. All right, let me, oops, that's not the right screen. Let me drag that over here. Okay, so, well, let's take a look at their deck list and see what it is I need to build here. I'm gonna go ahead and shamelessly rip this deck list. Okay, so, because I'm actually am curious if this deck is intuitive to run, because it seemed actually very challenging to run. A lot of what they were doing in the game didn't make sense to me. I'm gonna get rid of this. This is just my colorless deck. Okay, so they're running 2 of the Retreat Magikarps. You know, the common Magikarp. Leap Out Magikarp. Then they're running 2 Gyarados EX. Makes a ton of sense, so I'm gonna go ahead and add that. Gyarados. They're doing 2 Manaphy, standard so far. Manaphy. Okay. Here we go. And then Palkia EX and a Baby Articuno, and that's what makes it a little bit weird. That's what makes the deck kind of unique. Actually, I have an Immersive Palkia. I'm going to run that because it is one of the few good cards that I have, and I want to show it off. And a Baby Articuno. And the rest is just tech. I mean, 2 Misties, 2 Pokeballs. The deck list is on screen, by the way, if anyone else wants to try this thing. Though, keep in mind, if we fight each other in ranked, it's on. Alright, adding in a Pokeball, 2 of those. And only 1 red, which is interesting. I would have expected more, but I only have 1, so that's perfect for me. 1 Iono. Alright. 1 Irida. And I think the 2 Irida decks are usually not as good. It's very rare you get to use 2 Irida. I actually completely agree with the 1 Irida. I think 1 Irida is just better in general. And then a Mars. Okay, Mars is a great card. We saw Mars... Well, we saw Mars lose a game, to be fair, but we also saw Mars wins games. It's great power, and it depends on how you use it. There are good ways to Mars and bad ways to Mars. That sudden death game. Oh my goodness, that game was legendary. And a Rocky Helmet. Okay. Alright, I've built the deck. Let's give this a try. Let's give this a try and see how it does in ranked. I've destroyed my ELO over the course of streaming this tournament. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how we do. Okay, we're up against Hikochi. Let's see how Hikochi does. Ooh, and I can actually look at the chat more easily now. The best of the best for real. Yep. I'm so happy an interesting deck won. 100% agree with you, Kobe. Ooh, I have to go first. And it's a Magnemite. Well, this is awkward. Maybe they won't attack if I put a Rocky Helmet on it? Well, what do I do? Alright, yeah, this is a little scary. Since I'm not casting anymore, actually, I can show you guys my hand. Let me make that visible. Hold on. Gotta put that on top of the overlay. There we go. I can't... Remember when I said Gary Bricks? I should have mentioned Gary Bricks for me. For you guys, Gary doesn't brick. But for me, I become literally unable to play anything. I don't know why this doesn't happen to the people we were watching in the tournament, but this happens to me every time I play Gary. Like, Kobe is probably laughing themselves silly right now, because just... everyone who watches my stuff knows that this is what my luck is like. This is my hand. Legit. I can't play anything. I had to use Irida to heal Manaphy so I don't instant lose from a deck wipe. The championship level difference. I mean, what can I say? Clearly NE had that champ level difference and I just don't have it. Same deck that just won the tournament, but... Well, we're slowly chipping away at the Magnemite. Little do they realize. I can't. I Maybe they'll be too afraid to attack because they don't want their Magnemite to go down. No, they're just using a different one, of course. That game didn't count because we didn't have the championship difference. All right, Russ, you came in second. You came in second in the PLL. That's huge. You're like one of the top players in the world. Can I borrow your championship difference for a second there? Well, let me just borrow your RNG. Or whatever it is that makes this deck work. Okay. Okay, that game didn't count. This one for real. This one for real. We're using the championship deck. It's not gonna brick twice. Alright, you see that? Russ is passing me the championship difference, so I should be able to win now. We're going first again, that's not great. Alright. Alright, that's slightly better. This is slightly better. We got a Pokeball now. Okay, no, it's Mewtwo Giratina, right? Yeah, I think it's Mewtwo Giratina. That's not so bad. That's actually one of the things we actually want to fight, so I'm feeling a little better about this now. Okay, we got the Baby Articuno, and... this deck actually has a big variety of Pokemon. Like, I could draw a Magikarp, I could draw Palkia and Articuno. A lot of options. Yeah, thinking about it, there's a lot of options here. Maybe I shouldn't have put anything down on the bench in case they sapped, but it's fine. It's fine. They're not gonna sap turn 1, they Professor Oaked. Wish I had one of those Professor Oaks. They're pretty good, I hear. Alright, yeah, it's Giratina Mewtwo. How do we play this? Ooh, lots of capes. Maybe? I'm not sure if I want a cape or not. Yeah, because if I get the fish right now, then I can start powering it up. Let's try for the fish. Let's try for the fish. See what we get. All right, I got my cape back, so it didn't really matter. I think I want to go with those two Pokemon on the bench, not the other two Pokemon on the bench that you didn't see. No, I specifically select my only two benched Pokemon. You see, I could see how you were confused, game. I could see how you were confused. Perhaps you wanted me to select that empty tile over there, but no. I'm putting energy on my two Pokemon. Right, Mewtwo does 50 damage, and I need to put Cape on Manaphy, which I did not do. That is 150% my own dang fault. I literally just narrated this and repeatedly said you need Cape for Manaphy, but when I'm doing it myself, then the brain turns off. Yeah, no, I'm just going for Parahacks at this point. Like I said, though, I think this is good evidence of how hard it is to just take one of these decks and use it. Especially if you're me. But, yeah, like, I said it before and I'll say it again. This is not an intuitive deck. The cards make it much trickier to use. It's easier to mess up. That's why I have so much respect for the player who won with this. Because it's not just a Gary deck. It's a weird, tricky Gary deck that I am playing very incorrectly. Okay, there we go. And, this deck doesn't have any retreat tech, and I lose if Palkia goes down, so I'll do this for now. Slash. Yeah, they could Dawn kill me, but I lose anyway if that happens. Yup. GG. Gyarados is bad against many matchups, but can actually destroy Giratina and Darkrai very easily because they need 4 turns to be effective. Yeah, I can see that. Thanks for the cast. Yeah, you're welcome, Russ. Thank you. That is very kind of you. I'm glad you had fun. Appreciate it. I'll catch you later. You want to see more of me? Check out my YouTube. It's the Sneaky Dragon on YouTube. Bye. Alright, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Alright, I'm going to do a few more games of this before ending the stream. The PLL tournament is over. Congrats again to the winners. It was really cool. I'm trying the winner's deck right now. I can't. I brick every time! This is why I don't play Gary decks. I mean, it doesn't matter really, so... Yeah, Skarmory does... This is why I don't play Gary decks. It's funny, OBS is asking me if I wish to remove this. Out of nowhere, it just prompted me and asked if I want to remove my phone from the stream. Even OBS is like, I don't think you should play this deck. I'm dead. There's literally nothing I can do. I bricked again. Seriously, is it just me? I don't know how all these people are playing this deck without bricking. Is it just me? I brick every time I try Gary. I brick every time. Alright, we'll do one more, and then my yellow cannot suffer playing. Don't play this in ranked. It's great in tournaments where you're playing against lots of Darkrai Giratinas, but don't try this in ranked. Not recommended for ranked or for anyone with bad luck. Oh. Alright, surely this time we will not brick. Still no Oaks. Still no Manaphy start. But it's a Giratina at least. Maybe we could beat a Giratina. Ooh. Pokeball first. Yeah, man, maybe we could beat a Giratina, because that's what this deck is supposed to do. It's supposed to beat Giratina, so... Let's see if we can take out this Giratina. I believe that this deck will show its championshipness. I'm just gonna put all the Pokemon on the bench. Just plop them down there. What could go wrong? Okay. Alright, it's bellowing, but that gives us some time. Alright, we're gonna do this, and... I could Mars here, reduce their hand count from 6 to just 3. Nah, that's not bad. I'll take 3 cards away. Alright, we're gonna switch with Manaphy. There we go. Nine cards left. Good odds we get a Gyarados at some point. And I guess Giratina will bellow once more. There we go. Ooh. Okay. I think this one. Just based on the timing. I made the wrong decision. Yeah, but no, based on the timing, Giratina should not be able to attack me before I get one of these online. So, I wanted to Misty the other one, just in case, like, I got, like, a crazy high roll, because that one already had 1 energy. It was probably over-optimizing. It was probably unnecessary, but... Ooh, Iona. Yeah, so Iona could be super useful in grabbing me a Gary later, but I don't want to lose my red. So we're not going to Iona yet. We're not going to Iona yet. We're going to just keep on swimming a little bit. Keep on swimming. Because I really want red and Gary. Arguably, though, then I should have played Iona now so that I could have the Gary for later. Ah, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. this fish. Because it can just retreat into either one, and I'm not sure which I want to go with yet. Yes! Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now I retreat into this. Give it more energy. Play red. We're looking good. Alright, so this deck does terrible against lots of stuff, but it does great against Darkrai Giratina. So that's why this deck did so well. That's why the Garys did so well, I guess, because Darkrai Giratina gives you enough time to draw your Gyarados. I think I've won. Well, this lost me a lot of ELO when it bricked, but it can beat Darkrai Giratina. That is my assessment. This deck is probably better for tournaments than it is for ranked. No. Okay, good, good, good. I put extra energy. I put extra energy. Look, see, I still have 4 energy. Extra energy just in case that happened. I was ready for that. I was ready for that happening. Yeah, I think we won this. I'm pretty sure we've, you know, been a little victorious here, but I'm gonna go ahead and plop that on the bench. They can't do 160 damage even with red, so that's fine. Who do I power up? You, I guess. Rampaging Whirlpool. And we delete energy from Darkrai. Perfect. That was nice. That was nice. The energy snipe there. Yeah, no, they could retreat into Darkrai and then I kill Darkrai. My hand! I liked my hand. Well, I mean... what do you do? GG! Yeah, okay, so this does defeat Darkrai Giratina. It just is very bad against everything else. Okay. Well, my dinner is incredibly cold. I'm gonna say goodbye. I hope everybody had fun. If you're still watching, yeah, great new deck for wiping out Darkrai Giratinas. We're probably gonna see tournaments be half of that and half of Darkrai Giratina from now on. That's all for now. I'll catch you later. It's me and you, YouTube. Actually, let me make sure. Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, Kobe, I appreciate all the comments on YouTube. I gotta find a way to, like, combine the YouTube and the Twitch comments somehow, but, you know, thanks for checking me out. Thanks for putting the comments in the YouTube section. I appreciate it. I'll catch you later. Let me see.